Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi out here, and it's Monday, Thanksgiving Monday. Happy Thanksgiving. And the Raptors lost an embarrassing game in preseason to the Boston Celtics on the day that Vince Carter was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, this is just there's a lot of learning lessons in yesterday. There's a lot of stuff that's dismaying to me, and it is what it is. In some ways, I don't want to overreact. I don't want to go crazy like some people in Raptors Nation probably already are. I mean, this is what it's going to be. This is where we're going to start separating the real ones from the ones that just like, yeah, we like watching because we like to win and get that winning feeling. Because this year's going to be ugly. I can already tell. There's certain things that are happening with the team right now in preseason that I am really kind of not happy with. Last night, the effort by the Raptors was very poor. The system of the Celtics out-systemed us. And in some ways, that team just won the championship. They should be a lot less hungry than we are. In some ways, we ain't won jack shit. They should be like, oh, cruising, like, because they already won. But no, we're playing like we are okay, and they're playing like they're still starving and hungry. And that's no good. That is no good. When I see the other team out hustling us, out playing us, trying harder, playing better together, that's bad, especially since the Celtics sat their top 8 rotation. And we played very much their bench, their B team, maybe even their C team in some cases. You know, these games in preseason so far, all 3 of them have been won by 2 individuals each time. The first game was won by RJ Barrett and Grady Dick in the first quarter when they came out lights out and dominated and got a huge lead for the Raptors that we ran away with in Montreal. The second game was won by Corey Kispert and Kyle Kuzma by showing up and hitting some big-time shots and carrying their team, being the ones that wanted it more. Well, yesterday, it was all about Peyton Pritchard and Lonnie Walker IV. And honestly, if I had been saying something like it was all about Scotty Barnes and Grady Dick, I would have been way more happier today. Because in some ways, I'm going to say this. I'm calling you out, Scotty Barnes. And I'll say, I'm going to give you a little bit of credit. Because in some ways, look, you didn't play most of the end of the season. You've been rusty. And in some ways, there could be some saying that, he needs to get his rhythm back. He needs to get his legs under him. He needs to be ready in this way and that way. If I had been out for so long like you have been, Scotty, I'd be raring to go. I'd be coming back, and I would have pre-visualized and thought about all this and came back when had the first good foot forward. But in some ways, you're really struggling right now, my guy. And I'm shocked by it. Because in some ways last night, the Celtics didn't even have their top 7 players on the court last night. And you needed to be the best damn player on that court last night. You needed to be what Peyton Pritchard was last night. And in some ways, you're never, ever going to be a top 20 player in this league if you can't be a top 10 player in a game like last night in the preseason. That's just the damn truth, Scott. So stop fucking around with your career and get serious about it. And get out there and dominate and do the things you're supposed to do. You came too late to understanding you had a size advantage down low in the post where you could bully people. You did do it at some point, but you started too late with it. And in some ways, like some people said in our Facebook chat, you need to be more alpha in taking over and doing certain things. Now, I've said also at times in this preseason, Scotty needs to be deferring to other people more and not trying to do so much. But last night was the opposite. Last night was a night where you should have took over and you should have been the number 1 option and you should have put your will on the game last night. And in some ways, it was embarrassing what you did last night because you got the worst plus minus out of all the Raptors last night. You were adding to us losing more than you were helping us winning, Scott. Why is that the case? If you're supposed to be one of the top players in the league, you're getting fucking made fun of on the Celtics broadcast by that idiot Brian Scalabrine. He said, and their coach said he's a face of the league. Laughing at you. Yeah, motherfucker. Listen, Scott, they're laughing at you today because you were professed as being a face of the league, a future star in this league, and you came out and you shat the bed against the Celtics B team, Scott. The Celtics B team, Scotty. What are you doing, my guy? You should be feasting when you see that shit. You think that Kobe and Michael fucked around with teams like this and let them make them look bad? No, they didn't. And I don't give a shit if it's preseason. I don't give a shit if barbecue's not even there because IQ and RJ are not available. You have to have some self-pride for yourself and show up and say, I ain't fucking getting punked by some second-rate fucking Celtics team. Seriously, Scott, where's your pride in this shit? Because last night you looked lost. Last night you looked a step behind. Last night you looked like you didn't care enough to do it the right way to try and beat them. And that scares the shit out of me because we're putting all our eggs in the basket with you as our franchise face, as our leader of our team. And if you're going to lead our team like you did last night, we're fucked. We are absolutely fucked. And honestly, I don't want to have any of this carousel of different injured people coming out. So we have a half-ass Raptor team this whole entire season. And just more of this kind of bullshit. We had our chance last night. In fact, the second half, these guys scraped it together. I'm going to give some credit to our coach right now. Coach Darko Rajakovic did not let his team quit. They were doubled up at halftime. Doubled up. 69-30 something. That is disgusting, Raptors. How the fuck do you let yourself get doubled up to Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser and Lonnie Walker IV? Seriously, how do you let that happen? There's got to be some sort of professional pride there. And, well, Darko has it. He hung with them. This is something I'm really proud of, is the coach continued to tell these motherfuckers to start playing and get going, and they did eventually. At some point in the second half, we started catching more baskets than them and catching up and eating up that 30-point lead so that by the end of the game, we were only down by 3. At the end of the game, we lost by 3, which is amazing. But that was on the backs of people like Jamias Ramsey and DJ Carton and Jonathan Mobo and those people in the second half. In some ways, Scott had nothing to do with us coming back and closing the gap. And that's pathetic. And that's sad in some ways. In some ways, you oh my gosh, I'm really annoyed with Scotty. In some ways, if Freddie had a baby bump from Fred Jr., well, what the fuck is going on with you since you had your baby, Scott? Because honestly, you need to get your head out your ass and you got to get out there and play right. You got to play right. Your decision-making has been very poor. Your execution has been not there. And your free throws are fucking sad and pathetic, Scott. Like, what the fuck are you doing at the free throw line? It all points to you being distracted and you not being tuned in and locked in for Raptors basketball. You know, don't be one of these players that gets a $500 million contract and all of a sudden he's miraculously aloof and not really that locked in. I don't want to see this kind of shit. I don't want you to be that type, that NBA player type, because we can't afford to have that guy, you in that position being that guy. Prove me wrong, Scott. If you don't like anything I'm saying in the beginning of the stream right now, well, that's your motivation, my guy, to prove me wrong. I know you love Kobe. You were not being like Kobe last night. You were being like some everyday kind of schmo in the NBA last night. You were not being a Mamba mentality last night. How can you be like your hero and play like that and let yourself just roll over like a dog and play dead for the other team that didn't even bring their fucking starting lineup? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You think it's going to be any easier when you have to play them? When they show up on Tuesday, tomorrow, here in Toronto, and you got to play them tomorrow because they will play tomorrow. You had your chance yesterday, and you didn't capitalize on it. That's the thing that pisses me off the most is y'all had your chance. In some ways, it's like, who cares, Lex? It's preseason. They're learning. They're young. They're developing. You're right. You're right. And that's why I'm not that upset about it. In some ways, I'll call Scotty out for fucking failing yesterday, but otherwise, that's it. In some ways, it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't go to our record. These stats don't even get counted. Is that why, Scott? Is that why you're saving your good stuff for when the stats actually go into this record books? Either way, if you're a professional, you come to the game the same way and practice the same motion, the same activity, because you need to be prepped and doing it the same way every single time, whether it's in practice, whether it's in preseason, whether it's in summer league, whether it's wherever it is. You have to practice the muscle memory of winning and how you play in a winning way, no matter the scenario. Don't give a shit about this a preseason game. Well, you're fucked because you should be showing up the same way, correct, every single time. And last night, I was so disappointed. They jumped all over y'all. In some ways, they showed that their system, their ethics, the way that Coach Mazzulla has them running is just superior to our best player being out there with some of our best players, and they can't fucking do things right. I saw Celtics run into loose balls before us. I saw a lack of effort in the first half, a lack of effort by the Raptors, and just rolling over And so, and this is the thing. Y'all play the Wizards. The Wizards, you can make mistakes around and they won't capitalize on it. But the Celtics, if you fucking make mistakes, they're going to make you pay for it with the three-pointer coming the other way. That's something y'all learned last night, right? Yeah. Yeah, so you got to tighten up. When you go fucking play the defending champions, you can't be fucking around like y'all were. You got all of a sudden you got paid per shot bombing 5 threes on you before the first quarter's over because you ain't fucking taking things seriously, and that pissed me off so bad. In some ways, it was a sham of a game that in some ways I was just like whatever. If they're gonna be whatever, I'm gonna be whatever with them. As far as I'm watching y'all Raptors and y'all are doing whatever, so I'm gonna be whatever for y'all also. So I'm just gonna be like, all right, y'all are casual about this, okay. I'll take your lead, Scott. We'll be casual about this. I'll be casual about this because you're casual about this. Oh, my gosh. I do have the stars of the game. I do have the classic card. I do have all the regular things we do on the Raptor Free channel. Let's go. This is where they would play my intro music. All right, Trevor J's here first. The commissioner of fun, always in first, usually, even if he's across the country or somewhere around the world. Life doesn't allow us to go back and fix what we have done wrong in the past, but it does allow us to live each day better than the last. I like that words of wisdom. In some ways, yeah, they can't go back and get this one back. No, you can't. You can't. In some ways, y'all had a chance to make all those Celtics fans sad in the arena by coming back and just winning at the end. But no, you couldn't even do that. I mean, y'all were embarrassed in the first half. In the second half, you saved face. Then you scrapped some stuff together. And in some ways, you built a pluckiness up that was respectable. And I did enjoy watching. In some ways, beating the Celtics in the second half, outscoring them, getting good scores was great. Once again, the Raptors not having this touted defense that we're supposed to have, allowing the Celtics to score 69 points in the first half. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Y'all are supposed to be tightening up and playing really top defense. You got Jakob and Scott out there. What's the issue? Well, is it that we miss the veteran kind of guys around like Siakam, Anunoby, and Van Vliet and Trent and people like that were on our team before? Is this the difference, Scott? Did you not realize this, Pensair, and you other fucking idiots that chased all our veterans out of town, that once they're gone, Scotty may need those people to help him to be so good? Seriously. In some ways, does Scott need Pascal Siakam around for him to look good? Because in some ways, I'm worried about this, that he may need a very good supporting cast around him to look good, like he has looked good in his first 3 years of his career. Scott, prove me wrong. You don't like what I'm saying this morning, Scott? You don't need Siakam? You don't need Anunoby? Well, fucking go out there and show us you don't. Because right now, it looks like you might. Right now, it looks like you might need those guys that Pensair ran out of town. Yeah, it might be that you need Freddie still. That Freddie would have helped you in a shit like last night. Seriously. I'm really worried about it, Scott. You know, you say you want to be the leader, but in some ways, you don't just get that handed to you. You've got to earn it. You've got to be it. You've got to show it, and then you get that moniker. You can't just anoint yourself and say, I'm going to be the leader this year. Well, you need to fucking do the leadership shit, and then somebody will come around and say, man, you're a leader now. You don't just say, I'm a leader, if you don't fucking be a leader on the court and do the leader shit to lead your team to win. That's the thing. You can't just be anointed like Bronny James. No, things don't work that way. You need to fucking be that thing, and then you get the label. Then you get the nameplate on your office. Scotty Barnes, leader. You get that afterwards. And the other thing that you ain't doing right in the wrong order right now is crying to the refs. I'm going to tell you this right now. Every single year, you got to come in and work hard and show that you are a top-level superstar before the referees like Josh Tiven will turn around and give you referee superstar calls. No, it doesn't happen before. You can't put the cart before the horse, Scott. You've got to earn it by coming out and showing a high aptitude of play and kick some ass first, and then they'll be like, oh, Scotty is on that level. We better start giving him superstar calls. You can't just come out there and just expect the superstar calls from the referees without showing you're a superstar. You have not shown you're a superstar this year yet. You've had 2 preseason games, and you shat the bed in both of them in a lot of different ways. In some ways, we're seeing Scott do this inconsistent shit that he did before. And I understand you're learning, you're young, you're getting better and better. But in some ways, the inconsistent stuff is weird right now. because the inconsistent stuff before, there was a certain level of play that was a great baseline of all around, like, okay, well, at least I'm doing this, but there's mistakes being made in your consistency now. There's missed free throws in your inconsistency now. And in some ways, there was a baseline of some sort of excellence, even if you weren't going above and beyond, making winning plays all over the place, taking over the game. In some ways, we've complained and said, Scott, why are you showing up in the fourth quarter? You're like doing nothing for 3 quarters, and then you're all of a sudden waking up in the fourth quarter. And the action in the first 2 preseason games is the first half, I'm going to play like shit and look like dog shit. And at halftime, I'll get reamed out for playing so bad in the first half that in the beginning of the third quarter, I'll come out and make a good effort just to kind of make my stat line look okay. Because that's the pattern in the first 2 games. That's not leadership. If you're leading us to fucking suck because you're coming out there and shit in the bed at the beginning of the game without executing correctly. And if you're going to try and just listen, this is the half-ass shit you're doing last night. You go in the basket and you're not finishing. You cannot go there and expect the whistle. They are not going to call the whistle for you. They are not going to give you that respect. Part of it is because of this symbol and what you wear on your jersey. Part of it is what I just said earlier. You have to come out and establish your dominance as a superstar, and then the referees will respect you and start to give you calls. But you cannot do that first. You cannot come out there and attack the basket, get hit, and then cry and one. You don't even make the basket, first of all. That's not a fucking and one if you don't make the basket. And second of all, if you're not going to make the baskets through the contact, through the hard work first, the referees will not respect you and give you the call later on when you do want that. So you can't get the call before you do the work and show that you're a superstar. You understand that? Seriously. Because in some ways, if you don't do that, they're not going to think you're a superstar. They're going to think you're just a Joe Schmo, just like Brian Scalabrine called you that last night. Seriously. He called you a Joe Schmo. You're just anybody else in the NBA. You're not special, Scott. You're not special in this league because you ain't distinguishing yourself. You ain't distinguishing yourself with a higher level play than anybody else on court. Peyton Pritchard just outscored you and outplayed you in the game last night. You embarrassed by that? Are you embarrassed by that? That Peyton Pritchard, the backup point guard of the Celtics, just outplayed our franchise player in a game? Are you embarrassed by that, Scott? You have to look at yourself in the mirror this morning and ask yourself, are you embarrassed by Jordan Walsh outplaying you, that alopecia, Charlie Villanueva motherfucker? Are you embarrassed by that? Because their two-way Jordan Walsh just outplayed your ass. Are you embarrassed that Lonnie Walker the fourth just outplayed your ass in the first half of that game last night? Are you embarrassed by that, Scott? Because these are the questions I have to ask for you right now. Now, maybe that my counterpart, Mr. fucking Pensair, may be over there kissing Scotty's ass this morning and blaming everybody else for this game. No. Leadership is where it starts, and it's at the top, and Scott is the bona fide leader this year. So in some ways, when shit like this happens, Scott, I'm dumping the load of criticism in front of you. And as a leader, you should be like, he's right. He's rightfully so. The Raptors freak is coming after me this morning. Because in some ways, it is Scotty's fault that we did not beat the Celtics B team last night. You think Kobe Bryant, even if the Celtics were the champions and he had the same exact situation as you last night, Scotty, he would let himself get beat by the B team of the Celtics? No, he would not. No, he would not. He would be, fuck this shit. I'm the Mamba. I'm going to take over this shit, and I'm going to fuck them up. Meanwhile, we got Lonnie Walker fucking us up. What the fuck is wrong with you, Scott? Wake up. The season started. Seriously. Fucking get your head out of your ass and start playing right, man. You're bugging me, and your free throws tell me that you're not engaged. You're not taking this seriously. You're going to be bricking 2 free throws in a row. You've done it 2 games in a row now. You got to buckle down. You've got to get serious. Don't, in some ways I might be saying, you know what? He's fucking up because he didn't do training camp, because he was away during training camp. This is why Scotty's so shitty right now, because he took training camp off. He was absent from Montreal. I mean, I can make all kinds of trying to figure out why the fuck Scott's broken right now. Seriously. And I'm sorry if it seems like, oh, Alexa just going off on Scotty. Well, I mean, I have good reason to right now. Because that dude played lazy, and then he expected the refs to bail him out with calls at one point. And it's like, no, Scott, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to come out and dominate. You have to come out and be the best player. Peyton Pritchard doing what he did, he's more likely to get foul calls because they're like, damn, that kid's good. Look at him bombing threes and killing the Raptors right out there. It's like, we couldn't do nothing. Why are you letting Peyton Pritchard kill us? In some ways, off day. You're supposed to boot an off day on him. On Peyton Pritchard off day. Why can't you put an off day on him? That's what your action is, right? Where's the off day on Peyton Pritchard? And why the fuck is Lonnie Walker the fourth looking like an all-star? Is what I'm asking y'all. That's what I'm asking this morning. That's right. Trevor's saying the first half was hard to watch. Yeah. Right away, they doubled us up. Right away in the first quarter. It was like 30-15. They doubled us up, bombing every single three. We had 1 3-pointer made at halftime. Grady came out and hit a 3-pointer to start the game. It was awesome. I was like, yeah, Grady, let's get it going. That was the only 3 we saw for the whole entire first half after that. Meanwhile, they're bombing threes like crazy. They get 16 in the first half. How the fuck are you supposed to compete when you're outscored by 45 points at the 3-point line? First half? Seriously. That's insane that they put themselves in such a deficit, in such a hole so fucking early. And on top of that, I mean, I will admit the refs were giving home cooking to them too. Seriously, they're bombing threes, can't miss any threes. We can't make jack shit. And Josh Tiven and Natalie Sago are pointing towards the Celtics end of the court every single time on an out of bounds. Every single time on any kind of questionable 50-50 call, they're giving it the home cooking. They're giving the Celtics fans the calls in the Celtics arena. And in some ways, that's expected. I was like, well, yeah, okay, just pile on the whole thing top of it. As far as, yeah, they're bombing their threes, making everything. We're not making jack shit. We're playing weak sauce where it looks like we can't even hold on the ball. And they're fucking just coming and taking it and doing whatever fuck. We may have something good happen, but we fucking weak sauce something right afterwards. And then all of a sudden, the fucking Celtics are going down the court and getting a 3-pointer. You know, yeah, it's all on there. And then the refs on top of that, any 50-50 call in the Celtics' favor. In some ways, it's expected that home court advantage will give you some of the calls. And then the refs weren't that bad, actually. In some ways, they weren't that bad. It's just that there were some calls early on that very much were debilitating to the Raptors as far as like, oh, well, they're just giving them the calls. Scotty, you cannot whine to the refs and get on their case when you're not playing well. I'm sorry. They won't give you any respect. Everything you've done before in your career is wiped away. You have to establish it all over again this season. And you can't just expect to be at this level of referee respect from last year coming right into this year. No, you have to prove it all over again. And in some ways, that's what superstars in this league have known over the years, is to come out there. Unless you're bona fide LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, they know you're a legend. They will give you the respect coming in. But you are not that yet. You have to fucking earn it every single year as a young player. And that's what you need to do right now. So don't stop and whine to the refs. That's not your fault. That's not their fault. You have to execute. There's shots that you're going down low to try and make against the Celtics, and you are not muscling on them and making sure you execute and make it. You're half-assed going at them, wanting contact and trying to get bailed out by the whistle. And you can't do that. You just can't do that. If you're coming to the basket, you need to come correct, and you need to have a very strong effort that will force the ball into the hoop. You are strong enough and bigger than the players that you were playing against last night, and you had a half-ass effort to try and dominate them last night. In some ways, any other superstar player would be licking their lips. He's like, oh, I got Sam Hauser on my back. Let's feast. Let's little baby on your back, Scott. Let's teach some little babies some toddler lessons down in the post. I mean, you need to know when to recognize that and abuse that on the other team, because you had that matchup most of the time last night. And in some ways, some people say, well, Darko didn't send him for that. Well, in some ways, they're needing to do what they need to do out there and go get it. In some ways, Darko's not telling Scott not to go down there and post up the smaller Celtics defenders. He did do it at one point, and he showed dominance in doing that. But there was like very little bit of the game. In some ways, we could have gone down there over and over and over again. I would have abused that mismatch, Scotty Barnes against a smaller Celtics B team. But why didn't we do that? No, there wasn't any of that. In some ways, this is like the passing is still not right either in the last two games. All right, yeah, let's keep going. The second half was a lot more. There were bright spots. There are people that I am going to celebrate from last night. But in some ways, I have to start with the top and the leader, and that's Scott. And that's why I'm talking about him for like the first 20 minutes of the show. In some ways, yeah. Trevor saying Grady saved the day from being an embarrassment. You know, Grady was an embarrassment in the first half also. Let's not give him total credit. He missed a lot of shots early. In some ways, he needs to be a dead eye. Listen, in some ways, Scott could be having a bad game, but Grady, in some ways, he has to be such an automatic dead eye shot. No matter if the whole world is burning down and falling apart around him, he needs to hit his threes no matter what. And in some ways, he was compromised by the Raptors' poor, weak sauce play, and he was not shooting as confidently, partly because of that. In some ways, Grady, we know you're a dead eye. We know that you can do this. And in some ways, I want you to just have such a short memory. You're not even realizing that the Raptors are falling apart to the second team of the Celtics, like maybe y'all did last night. You can't be in your head. You got to just dead eye make these shots no matter what. And he wasn't shooting well in the first half, but he did wake up in the second. And he did save some face there. And he is one of my 3 stars of the game. That's right. Yeah. Trevor's saying, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the day with your loved ones. Yeah. If you get the privilege of being with your loved ones, then yeah, have a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. If you have the privilege of having your loved ones in your life with you day to day and around you, enjoy it. Soak it up is what I'm going to say to you, because not everybody has that. Let's just put it that way. All right. First star of the game for me is Jakob Poeltl. And Jakob had a double-double last night, 14 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 turnovers. And those 3 turnovers were ugly. I saw them, and we can talk about them. 6 of 10 from the field, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. The thing I liked about Poeltl was he's steady in the chaos. In some ways, his years on the Spurs, he had to be in these situations where they were losing a lot, and he just had to be a steady hand no matter what. And he was showing that. In some ways, when we were really bad, there was one guy who was actually still playing, and that was Jakob, still fighting for rebounds, still trying to get scores for us. In fact, he was our leading scorer in the first half, carrying us when nobody else could get anything going. Now, Jakob had some really ugly passes that went to nowhere in certain places where he lofted balls too high, went out of bounds. That stuff was ugly. There was some connection problems with Poeltl and the other players, but in some ways, he was the most dominant, best player for us last night. And it's too bad, because in some ways he's supposed to be a complement. He's supposed to be a steady defensive and rebounding force. He's not supposed to be one of our main offensive weapons. And in some ways he had to be that in the first half because we're struggling so bad and nobody else could buy a basket. So you got to go down low, and hopefully Jakob will be carrying us with some points, and not enough points to match up with the 3-point barrage of the Celtics if you're relying on Big Yak to be your water carrier primarily. It's no good. But yeah, a yeoman's work, a valiant effort by our big Austrian, getting a double-double in this game. If not for some ugly turnovers with some bad passing connections, his game was not that bad last night. I would have liked to see maybe some more blocks, but there are things about Jakob that have improved from last year, and I like that. My second star of the game is Grady Dick, and it really is for a second half, like Trevor was saying. Grady shot like 1 for 8 or something in the first half, but then he cleaned it up in the second half and made a better percentage. He ended up shooting 50% from 3 by the end of the game, which is the big stat I like. 5 for 10 from 3. He pretty much was all our 3-point shooting last night, just himself. 18 points for Grady in 24 minutes, 6 of 18 overall. So he really did shoot way, way better in the third quarter and cleaned it up. And it was nice because he showed some confidence and he showed some moxie. He showed some respect for himself to get out there and try and do better. And that I appreciated that. Grady also had 2 rebounds and a steal, and he had no turnovers. So in some ways, Grady was pretty solid. He was a -3. And in some ways, I like what Grady did to kind of save face. He ended up being our leading scorer by the end of the game. My third star of the game is Jamison Battle. Jamison Battle came out late and only played 5 minutes and scored 8 points right at the end of the game. Some of y'all in the Facebook chat were saying, why didn't we put Battle in earlier in the game? He might have helped us win, because he did come out and shoot the lights out. 3 for 6, 2 for 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. In 5 minutes, he was a +6 with 8 points. And honestly, I think that Jamison Battle is the guy that maybe has that last roster spot if you're going by performance in the preseason and summer league so far. In some ways, we need that shooting, obviously. Our 3-point shooting is so fucking bad. Our shooting is just so bad in general that it makes sense that if we're going to make the last man on the roster Jamison Battle, I would be okay with that, because honestly, he would give us something way more than Bruno Fernando's shown, or even Jamias Ramsey. I was expecting Ramsey to have a revenge game last night because he was on the Celtics summer league this summer, and he got cut this summer by the Celtics. And he could have came out there and had so much energy of animosity towards them. In some ways, I was waiting for a Ron Harper Jr. revenge game last night, but he came in too late and too little. and he didn't do jack shit against us. But in some ways, before the game, I could tell Ron was smiling. Ron was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to show the Raptors because they gave up on me last season when I got hurt. I'm gonna come out there and get him, because he was very light and happy and smiley in the pregame shoot around. I was watching it, and Ron Harper was kind of licking his lips about the opportunity to possibly show up the Raptors, a team that gave up on him last year. But that wasn't to be. Nobody got any revenge between Ramsey and Harper. Both guys got in too late in the game and were too ineffective to have any kind of impact on the game in a major way. So my 3 stars of the game: Pirtle, Dick, and Battle. Those were my 3 stars. And 2 of those guys is for their 3-point shooting. One of them for their rebounding and excellence, just trying to hold it down when everybody else in the ship is sinking with the ship and not bailing water, like Jakob Pirtle. Yeah. Mo's here. Good to see Superfan Mo, who did not watch the game live because she was at the Scotiabank Arena watching Buju Banton in concert. But she did watch the replay later. She saw the highlights. And she's saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family crew. Ugly. After watching the replay, why we dig a deep hole like that in the first place, that close of an ending. Yeah, it was annoying. Well, it was really a tale of 2 halves, Monique. The Celtics jumped out on us all over us. Peyton Pritchard was perfect right from the beginning. Lonnie Walker, the 4th, is on an Exhibit 10, and he is trying to make that Celtics team. And honestly, if he doesn't make that team, well, he's going to need to be picked up by somebody else, because this man's an NBA player, bona fide NBA player. And in some ways, it is a joke that he is on an Exhibit 10 with Boston. In some ways, that is a luxury for them to have a great rotational player just trying to make their team on the last end of it. In some ways, it would be crime if he didn't make the team after what he did last night. And some of the other games he's played for the Celtics, he's been top-notch also. Yeah, I don't understand this. This new NBA has great players like Lonnie Walker the 4th on the outside looking in. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, they dug that deep hole early. In some ways, it is a tale like we've heard in years past, Monique, where we give ourselves a huge margin and then we have to try and claw back against it. And especially against the champions in their home court, yeah, that's a tall order. But to their credit, they did almost complete the comeback, which is absolutely crazy. In some ways, when they come back and they just lose by 4 at the end of the game, it makes you kind of wonder, what were the mistakes that happened earlier in the game that could have added up to it actually coming out in the outcome with us on top? But then you have to remember that if you're actually threatening to win the game and stuff like that, you have to have execution to bust through and take the lead and do that. And it could be that the Celtics would hold you off and stay on top of you no matter what. So you can't just say, oh, they lost by 4. If we'd made like some of the free throws earlier or some of the 3-pointers, the game would have been completely different, because the parameters of the game and the settings of the game change as the margin changes and the intensity changes to the game also when that happens. So we can't just say like, oh, if they'd done a couple of things different or this mistake or that mistake, they would have won the game. No, because it could very well be the Celtics would have done the right things to make sure that they were on top all the way to the end. So the close margin in some ways is not our friend. In some ways, I'd much rather, in some ways, have seen the Raptors lose by 20 and feel the sting of a blowout loss this morning than seeing just a 4-point loss like they did last night. Because in some ways, they should feel like it's a 20 or 30-point loss and not a 4-point loss. They should. They very much should. Yeah. Let's see what else you are saying. Let's see. Monique has got another comment here. Nice to see so many names in the chat filling it up with me this morning in response to the Raptors losing to the Celtics last night in preseason. Yeah, he's Monique is saying, so Vince did cry, eh? Yeah, so last night they had the Hall of Fame inductions for this year's class. People like Michael Cooper, Michelle Timms, the NBA Inside Stuff crew, Chauncey Billups, Jerry West, and Vince. Vince, you know what? I'm going to give him points for last night. In some ways, he did a good job, and he did win me over a little bit last night. I'm being completely honest right now. You know how critical I've been about all this stuff with Vince, but he did do what he said he was going to do. He came up there, and he very much made a very elaborate show to show that he's going into the Hall as a Raptor. And in some ways, that did actually really touch my heart. I mean, when he said it the first time in the press a few months ago, when they announced he'd go in the Hall of Fame, that he wants to go in as a Raptor, it did help with healing things between an old fan like me and him. And seeing him say it last night in his speech, it really did heal some of this stuff. As far as like, man, I do want to like Vince. I do want to like him, and I do want to welcome him back into our alumni as a positive Raptor from the past. But in some ways, it's still not totally there. But there's still some more chances. As far as November the 2nd, we'll see how he addresses our crowd in our home arena when his jersey gets retired. And also in February, when we honor his 25th anniversary of his dunk competition. In some ways, those are still a couple of more beats on the line. But last night went towards the positive of healing this. He didn't do a bad job. He showed up. He wore a very nice purple suit, which is a nod in itself, which is something that I noticed, Vince, and that does mean a lot, seriously. And then he also named like 20 of his former Raptor teammates. He just rattled them off. And that meant a lot to me also, because in some ways you are nothing without your teammates, Vince, and you know that. And you going down the line and thanking just a whole barrage of great Raptors that played with you on your team really did go a lot. Those were the things that got me on your side a bit last night. The fact that you came in and said there was without no doubt that I'd go into the Hall of Fame as a Raptor, it hit right here, seriously. So even old crusty Vince Carter hater for like decades like me, you won over a little bit last night. You did this right. As much as you failed the Dixon Court dedication and talking to everybody there, you did a good job last night, Vince, and I'm proud of you. And in some ways, you went in the right way. So thank you, Vince, for making it very clear that you honor your Raptors roots and that you came into the Hall of Fame as a Raptor. That does mean a lot to me. Trust me. That means a lot to me. And I might cry, Monique, a little bit about this because honestly, this is an emotional thing with Vince Carter. It's why he cries and it's why we cry too, because he hurt us and we hurt him too. Let's be honest. We hurt Vince too. The fans hurt him when we booed him every single time he came back after he gave us so much, but took so much away. So it's a healing time. It's a healing time in certain ways. And Vince, I just appreciate you coming correct last night and showing up to that Hall of Fame ceremony wearing purple and declaring yourself a Raptors entrant. In some ways, listen, the bond between you and the Nets, I don't know what it's like. In some ways, I don't care. I didn't pay attention to it. I try to ignore you in the Nets after you went to play there. But, you made us feel special last night. And that's the important thing. That's the important thing. I have not watched the speech completely. I will watch it this afternoon, and I'll have more detailed notes about what I thought about what he said. I just saw the highlights, and from what I saw from the highlights, you did it right, Vince. You got points back with me. And people in the Raptors association or organization and the media, people like Matt Devlin, you hearing me this morning? Yeah, he did a good job last night, and he's starting to thaw my cold, icy heart towards him. So, yeah, there you go. Happy Thanksgiving from Granny Evelyn. She's got the turkey out there. Y'all, she's going to carve up that turkey soon. So come get you a plate because Granny Evelyn's always got Thanksgiving for the Raptor Freak family ready for us. There you go, Granny Swag. We love you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Monique's saying he knew he messed up big time, fool. You're talking about Vince. Yeah, listen, in some ways, he's really not good at apologizing. He's really not good at getting outside of his head, but he is figuring some of this out. And in some ways, I want to give him the chance to circle back and get back. Listen, Vince, if you're serious about being an alumni for us in the right way, well, let's get this right. And in some ways, I don't totally trust you around our players. But if you're going to show up to Toronto and you're going to be more present on this side of the border, in some ways, you can win me back. Because, you put a cold shoulder on the Raptors in Canada after you got traded to New Jersey. And it's evident in some ways in all kinds of different places. But in some ways, if you're going to start advocating for us, if you're going to start putting the good word out for us, if you're going to do games on TNT this year and you're going to give us a fair shake and you're not just going to kick us while we're down in a rebuilding year, you will go further with me. Because at times in your post-career where you've been on media, you have kicked us around on the broadcasts. You've kicked us around. And I didn't like that. In some ways, it's like if you're one of us, if you're Raptors culture, you're Raptors nation, if you're supposed to be an icon in our culture, you can't be kicking us around on media, on television down in the States just because it's an American broadcast, because we can see it up here. The internet exists, and we see what y'all are saying down there, Sam Mitchell and Vince Carter. So in some ways, it's like you guys can't be half-assed on both sides of the border. You can be this way with us to our face and two-faced on the other side of the border talking about us. That is where you could change going forward, Vince. If I see you more pro Raptors, More like I'm proud of being a Raptors icon. I'm proud of my Air Canada effect. If you're putting that out, that energy more than kind of like I dissuade it, I'm kind of like sweeping it on the rug. It's something that I don't really talk about a lot because the fans up there booed the shit out of me and I'm kind of butthurt by them. You know, this is the way we heal this. This is the way we heal this. And maybe in some ways, Vince has got to do this a certain way to heal it a certain way, his own way, where he doesn't just come out right with an apology and say, I'm sorry, I quit on y'all, Raptors fans. I'm sorry I quit on y'all and forced to trade out of Toronto. I mean, that would have been the easiest way to do this. But if you're going to do it little by little with little things that you're showing that, like, yeah, this is respect I show for this franchise because this franchise made me who I am in some ways. You know, then we can get healing to happen more and more. Then we can get healing to happen more and more. Yeah, that's right. Kareem saying, I'm about halfway listening to Vince Carter's speech. Did this bitch say sorry? I want to save my time. I haven't watched it yet. And in some ways, I don't expect him to just straight up say he's sorry. But the stuff I was seeing from last night did make me feel better about him. So we'll see, Kareem. In some ways, I'll watch it this afternoon. I'll give you all a full critique tomorrow when we do the preview for the second Celtics game here in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. Yeah. Nako's saying, only saw the second half. Hallelujah. Grady was hot in the third. Need to see much more from Scotty. Yeah, Gerald, you're right. Man, what kind of timing? Maybe you're the reason we did so bad, Gerald. We needed your energy watching the beginning of the game. You showed up in the second half. Then we started playing better. Gerald, you got to be there for the start of the game. Oh, my gosh. In some ways, man, maybe we needed Gerald watching. It's your fault, Nako. This Scotty didn't come prepared. Come on, man. You guys show up. Yeah, I was really happy with Grady coming out and having a much better second half. Much better second half. He's saying also the Celtics broadcast was so annoying. Grady, Shed, and Oshai were our best. Yeah, the Celtics broadcast is going to be annoying. They always are. And especially if they're top dog, they're the champs right now. They're gloating. And they're very braggadocio. And, you know, especially right now, and this was alluded to by our broadcast. I didn't watch the Celtics broadcast, by the way. But they're very much them being 18 championships over the Lakers 17 is not good. In some ways, I want LeBron to retire and get the fuck out of the league so the Lakers could get better again so they can try and win another championship and tie it back up with Boston. So Boston can't be like king of the hill, talking all bad and swagger with 18 championships to their 17. In some ways, this is where I become a Lakers fan. When LeBron retires, and I want the purple and gold to even up the score with them. Seriously, Lakers fans, do you think I've been mean to you over the last couple of years? Yeah, I have. Because I think that it's a sideshow what LeBron has done to y'all's franchise in the last 5 years. And in some ways, I know that when he's gone, well, the pride and hopefully the things that can happen for that franchise will happen again where y'all can rise up to excellence. And I will be completely happy with y'all winning championships again. Seriously, I can historically be a Lakers fan. Trust me. And with the Celtics having one championship more than the Lakers right now, well, I am a Lakers fan because I'd like y'all to even them up. I'd even like y'all to go ahead and pass them. Seriously. Y'all get to 20 before them. I will be very, very happy, Lakers. Don't get it twisted. I hate the Celtics. And in some ways, I want the Lakers to get rid of LeBron and Bronny and JJ Redick and get back onto winning ways so that they can get back on top of this league with the most championships in the entire league. That's right. Rightfully to me, the Lakers should be the team that has the most Larry O'Briens in this whole entire league. Seriously. I don't want it to be the Celtics. Fuck them. Fuck them. So come on, Lakers. Get your shit together. LeBron, retire. Get waived and fire Coach JJ Redick and start over and fire Rob Pelinka while you're at it too. Just start the fuck over again. Let Magic Johnson start creating this team again from the scratch, and he will know what to do. He's seen how wayward y'all caught in the last few years franchise, but just trying to kiss LeBron's ass and do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah, it's not winning. It's not winning time. And in some ways, that championship y'all got in the bubble, it shouldn't be a half championship, honestly, if you ask me. That second championship for the Raptors should have happened that year. Yeah, but a pandemic happened instead. It's messed up. Yeah. Kaz is saying, I tuned out after the first half, not wasting my time on a preseason game like that. A lot of people did, and this is an action that happens a lot in these kind of games with the Raptors. They come out, they shit the bed, they play absolutely horrible, and a lot of the fans just kind of quit and say, oh, I'm not going to watch this. And then the good stuff happens later. So it's like Raptors fans don't actually get to enjoy or see the good stuff because they give up on the team like Kaz did during the game. That's why I'll never turn off the game, as ugly and bad as it gets, because I know hopefully Coach Rajakovic is going to show that he's like, I'm pissed at y'all. We're not going to give up, and y'all are going to give a good effort, and we're going to close this gap, and that's what happened. And in some ways, like I said, if I'm not impressed with Scotty, and I'm not impressed with a lot of the players, I am impressed with Darko, because in some ways his team shot the bed, did not come out, play very well, but he still kept them going, and they kept them going to the point where they came back and only lost by 4. So, Kaz, after the first half, the way it looked, did you expect them to only lose by 4 by the end of the game? Because that was pretty good. And they scored a lot of points in that last quarter, 42 points in the last quarter, 32 in the third. So they had 74 points in the second half for the Raptors last night. And they did limit the other team to only 46. So they really did outscore the Celtics a lot in the second half, which is fantastic. So, yeah, but I don't blame you. Some people, it's torturous. I know. I was even feeling, I was like, yeah, a lot of people are turning the game off right now because they don't have the time to watch this shit. And I don't blame you, Cass. In some ways, time is valuable. In some ways, you don't do a channel like me that has to cover this game and watch the bitter thing to the bitter end. And I get it. Nako's saying, I lied. Ramsey was better than Shed. Carton was better than Shed, too. In some ways, all right, let me break these guys down each. We'll go ahead and do the rest of the team real quick. I've talked about Scotty a lot. I am going to look at his stat line real quick. The minus 27 is the most telling stat that was annoying about last night. Minus 27. Scotty only scored 10 points last night in 26 minutes, 5 of 10, so he's 50%. But in some ways, that means he should have shot way more because he was shooting a high percentage. It's just that he wasn't shooting enough. And I think Andrew said this in the chat last night, that maybe Scotty should have been more selfish and more dominant. I think in some ways, he needs to read the game for that, whether he needs to be taken over and being the most dominant guy on the court, or he needs to be facilitating and getting his teammates more involved to flesh out a more well-rounded attack. Scotty, you need to be in tune with this and understand when to call your number and when to kind of look to get all your other teammates engaged. Because in some ways you're not getting that, and you're not executing to do that. As a special player like you, this is something that you have the power to do, but you're not realizing it or utilizing it. And that's a problem to me. You should have read the defensive assignment was, you know what? This guy's too small. He's a baby. I'm going into the basket. I'm going down low, and I'm just going to dominate them near the basket. Because in some ways, that was the place where you needed to sit down and eat last night. Was right next to the basket in the post with a baby, skinny, really weird lineup for the Celtics. That Drew Peterson guy looks like some kid they found down the street who's just like won a contest, be a Celtic for the day. That dude doesn't even look like an NBA player. He just looks like some dream fantasy prize winner. You can be a Celtic for the day and come out and play, but the motherfucker burned us in different ways. Drew Peterson. Isn't that the guy who killed his wife out in California, Drew Peterson? What the fuck is this shit? Where'd they find these guys? But yeah, Scotty, 5 for 10. He had only 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So very mini stat stuffing, 4 turnovers. So his highest number in any of his stats was 4 turnovers and only 10 points. Yeah, that's just not going to cut it, Scott. That's not the leadership we need from you, man. Either you're going to get a high point total or you're going to get a high assist total. And 2 assists and 4 turnovers. Once again, your assist to turnover ratio is off, bro. It's not on the right side of things. Davion Mitchell was, once again, he's not the kind of player that I'm going to look at how much he scores and judge him by. He was 1 for 4. He missed both his 3-point shots, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 points. In some ways, he was ineffective because in some ways, off day, you're supposed to give Peyton Pritchard an off day. And, well, they must have ran Peyton Pritchard around all kinds of good screens to slough you off. And you couldn't catch up. And Peyton was getting just that amount of daylight to burn you and hit those shots. In some ways, this is what it is. When you play a team like the Celtics, they're champions. You make any little mistakes, they capitalize on it. They make you pay for it. And in some ways, y'all made little mistakes. You maybe were lackadaisical, a little half-assed, and they executed and made you pay for it. And that's just it. So, Davion, you did not have a good game last night because you didn't score anything, and you didn't manage to stop Peyton Pritchard. And that's a big problem. Ochai Agbaji, 27 minutes with 5 points, 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. I like the assists. In fact, there was a synergy between the Kansas guys in the second half that was off the charts awesome. Agbaji kept finding Grady and the part where Grady was doing really well, and he got a lot of the assists on Grady's great shots in the third quarter. And that chemistry between Abaji and Dick, I want to see more discovery on it. I want to see more of it in games in the future. So in some ways, that's a bright spot for Abaji, but there's really not a whole lot to talk about with him other than that when he got all going with Grady in the third quarter. Otherwise, it's not like his defense was any better than Davion Mitchell's, because they scorched us at the beginning of the game. And these guys are supposed to be defensive stoppers. Well, why the fuck do the Celtics have fucking 41 points after the first quarter? Seriously, if y'all are supposed to be a defensive team, Davion Mitchell and Ochai Agbaji, y'all should be closing them up real quick. Yeah, real quick. Going to the bench, Chris Boucher off the bench, 3 for 8, 1 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 at the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 9 points. Chris wasn't out there a whole lot. He didn't have the impact he had in either of the games in the first preseason games in Montreal, the 2 games against Washington. So in some ways, Chris was was neutralized and not as effective in his hustle play and his getting after it. But his attitude and his spirit is exactly what the Raptors needed last night. If you notice, some things that bugged me about the game last night were the Celtics out hustling us to loose balls, 50-50 balls, out hustling us to rebounds. And at one point in the third quarter, when the Raptors started turning around and get some good energy going for them, that's because they were busting their ass. There's one play where Grady fell on the floor. They fell all around. They've hustled their ass off, but the end of the possession, they got a shot to go in. And that was pure hard work and hustling. And in some ways, the first half didn't have any of that shit. But in the third, y'all started showing up and hitting the floor, hitting the ground, trying to get the ball. Chris Boucher hustle play shit. And Chris Boucher, you're a leader for that. And Jonathan Mobo and Grady Dick will follow you in that area, because we saw them both hitting the floor, making the extra effort, going after it, being relentless, next point of effort every single time. You have to do that against a championship team like the Celtics. You can't be lackadaisical. You can't let the ball come to you. You have to go get it. And you cannot fucking stand by and just watch the ball roll around, because the Celtics are going to get it while you stand there. And that is something the Raptors didn't wake up and realize until the second half last night. And then I saw some fantastic effort, but that effort can be thankless, because you may fall all over the place and try and get it, and then there's still a turnover, a missed shot, and they're going the other way and hitting a 3. But you have to at least do it. It's a symptom of being a Raptor for years and years and years. We work our asses off and bust our ass and do the hard work like Chris Boucher's hustle play. And you have to do it. And Mobo got it last night. In some ways, I saw Mobo putting all kinds of good effort in different directions, in different ways to try and make things happen for the Raptors. And that impressed me, honestly. Jonathan Mobo, you got some points in my book last night for effort. In some ways, I want Scotty to look at you and say, Jonathan, man, you're doing such good effort last night. Scotty, you should be fucking getting that same effort like him. Seriously. Grady Dick hits the floor and he gets back up and he hits a 3 after he gets back up on the same offensive possession. That's effort. That's working, busting his ass. That's hitting the floor to get the loose balls like the Celtics were doing. That's what we needed. That's what we needed. Chris Boucher as the spirit animal of our team, hustle play, crashing the boards, getting the loose balls, 50-50 balls. That's right. Bruno Fernando, nothing to be impressed with. Once again, Bruno, man, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm not in favor of guaranteeing your contract and having you on the Raptors this year. I'm sorry. In some ways, you're just not winning me over. In some ways, you got to really wow us. And in some ways, you're not doing that, man. 2 for 2 from the field, 2 for 2 at the free throw line. He didn't miss anything. But it's like, what was he doing to help us, too? 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 6 points. I'm sorry, man. It's just like, it's just boring. It's like, what are you doing, bro? I need you to be dominant. I need you to dominate the boards. I need you to get a bunch of block shots. And if you can score a bunch of points, that's fantastic. But if you dominate the boards and you get some block shots, that may be enough for me to like what you're doing. But in some ways, 2 rebounds in this game last night with a bunch of short-ass B team Celtics, what the fuck is that, bro? You're getting 2 rebounds in 14 minutes. Nah, that's not right with your height compared to the height of the guys you were playing against on the other side. Don't you tell me that rookie Baylor Sheeman is able to outmuscle you to get the fucking rebounds, Bruno Fernando. So whatever the fuck you're doing out there, yeah, you ain't going to be doing it on the Raptors for much longer if you don't get your act together and start fucking playing this preseason. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I already talked about Battle. Battle, you're good in my book, bro. And in fact, you get that spot over Fernando every day right now. Mobo, I already touched on him a bit, but let's go into more detail about his stat line. 21 minutes, 3 for 7 from the field. He had some shots that he made that were actually really nice. And it's like even Matt Devlin kind of said something in the favor of Mobo. He said, he missed some shots earlier in the other preseason games, but he's feeling it out. He's figuring it out. He's just starting out. And you're right, Matt Devlin. I agree with you. And I'm here for it. In some ways, I'm really, really, really excited about Mobo and his effort. If he can be like Chris, if he can be, I'm going to fall on the floor and sacrifice my body to get shit for the Raptors and hustle and hard work. Mobo, you're going to be a fan favorite of mine real quick because you were showing signs of this last night. He had 10 rebounds last night. He was going to get it. So in some ways, Mobo was just a basket away from a double-double. I wouldn't say you're going to be a double-double guy, but Mobo, go ahead and be a double-double guy. You could have got one more basket to go in. You would have been a double-double last night. 4 assists also for Jonathan. And we saw really nice transition play with Scott and him, where Scott hooked up Jonathan and got a basket. It was the first time Scotty assisted to Jonathan, and it was cool. It probably felt really good in some ways. Very, very much a childhood dream between the two best friends, and that was cool. So there was a lot around Mobo that I really, really liked. And in some ways, I may have made him one of the stars of the game if he had gotten a double-double. If he had gotten one more basket, he may have been one of the stars of the game. Brandon Carlson is a mess, y'all. I'm really worried about this kid. He is not going to be any good on defense. He's a huge liability on defense. And if he's not going to make his shots, he's really not going to be worth anything on the main roster. He'll be fine in 905. We'll let him learn down there, but he is a long-term project, and he should not be playing major minutes in the NBA this year. No, he should. He's not physically ready for the NBA. And that's scary because Brandon Carlson is 25. It's not like he's 18 like Shamshay. And he's got he's 7 years older than Shamshay. And in some ways, he needs to be forming his body already by now. That him being so skinny without no muscles is no good. Carlson, you need to fucking get on some Hulk Hogan steroids quick. And you need to lock yourself in the Mandarin for 3 hours and eat that buffet for a long, long time because you need weight, motherfucker. Because you're going to get pushed around and you ain't going to be able to do jack shit in this league because you are not able to defend anybody, bro. You really aren't. You could be a weak side help on blocking shots, but you are not physically able to handle anyone with your body and your strength. So you're a big liability. And I don't want to see you playing for the Raptors this year until you get some muscles, is what I'm saying right now. He got 1 block and 1 shot in for 2 points in 5 minutes. Shamshay got a little appearance at the end of the game for 2 minutes, hardly anything at all, just 1 rebound. Really not a whole lot to say about Urish Shamshay. Not really anything to say either way. Jamice Ramsey, not bad. 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from the 3, 2 of 2 at the free throw line. Very steady and efficient with his scoring. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 9 points, a +9. In fact, he was the best plus-minus on our whole entire team last night, a +9. So in some ways, Ramsey, you came correct, and you did do some stuff the right way. I love the 3-point shot you made. But once again, maybe he didn't play enough last night. Only 13 minutes for Jamice. And we may have been better off playing our second team against the Celtics' second team than our three of our starters with the second team. Seriously, maybe Scott should have been sitting out with the rest of them because all he did was embarrass himself last night. In some ways, seriously, Scotty, in some ways, maybe you should have been street clothes. We might have done better. I'm not going to lie. And that's something horrible to say in this situation. Jared Rhoden, 4 minutes, 1 of 3, 2 points with 2 assists and 2 rebounds. Nothing that particularly standing out. It was solid in the last little part. And once again, was part of that team at the end of the game that was really scrapping, trying to close the gap by the end of the clock running out. And, they had their chances. If they had held off on maybe some of the scoring that the Celtics did late, they could have closed the gap and maybe possibly overcame them and won the game. But it wasn't to be. The execution isn't exactly there. And in some ways, these are young guys that don't know exactly how to do it and close out a game to win it like that. So it's just how it is. Jamal Shed, 19 minutes, 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. He did make some shots, which was good. 5 of 6 from the field, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover, 14 points. He wasn't that bad. He actually shot way better than he has in the preseason so far. He made a 3, and it was a very timely 3. But there's also a lot of shots that Shed's missing that are a problem. I like how he's scoring around the basket also. So it was a step in the right direction. Shed, keep going this way. As much as I'm telling Carlson he needs weight, you need to continue to work on your jump shot. And you need to be money from 3. If you could get to be money from 3, you're good. You're going to be in this league. You just have to make your threes consistently, Jamal. And there was some lackadaisicalness about Jamal in the first half that I didn't like. Maybe he was too cheery. He didn't have that normal, like, dog, I'm getting after it kind of mentality. We saw it more in the second half, though, and it was embodied by the whole group. But in the first half, these guys were lost and they were floundering and they were drowning in the water of the green seas of the Celtics. And it was too bad. DJ Carton came in for 8 minutes at the end, and he had a pretty solid little ending there, too. 2 for 2 from the field with 4 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, and 1 turnover. So he wasn't bad either. He was kind of like Ramsey. Ramsey and Carton coming in and doing a lot of stuff. In some ways, I wanted to see these guys earlier. In some ways, I look at them as kind of more veteran presence than the other guys on the team because they have experience in the NBA, Carton and Ramsey. And in some ways, they play the right way. They play a certain kind of way like Jeff Doughton Jr., and it makes me like have more faith and confidence in them to execute and do things correctly on the court. So in some ways, maybe if I'm going to criticize Darko, he should have played Ramsey and Carton more in the first half to maybe steady things. And that could have been a substitution pattern that may have helped us earlier when we were in really bad shape in the first half. Really, really bad shape. Once again, no Kelly Olynyk. That was too bad. And we did need some Kelly Olynyk out there. Really did. So going over the rest of the Raptors there you go. There you go. G saying Scotty is not a guard. He needs to get back to the paint as a point forward. Yeah, I agree with that. That, Scotty, his best place to eat was down low last night. He could have easily feasted on the smaller defenders for Boston, but he didn't recognize that, or they didn't call that. I don't know what it is. Like, is Darko telling him, go down low, Scott, go down low, and he's avoiding it? I don't know. It's an obvious thing that you could have saw. Any coach could have saw that. Maybe it's too easy. And it's like, oh, they're going to be ready for that. I know that the Celtics employ a defense that comes with doubles and triples really quickly, and they irritate. In some ways, that's part of why they were really getting Scott out of zone, is that they kind of blitz him with different people coming from different angles whenever he has the ball in his hand. So that's part of it right there. That's part of it. Bryce is saying Ramsey was not better than Shed. It's arguable. I think that all three of them were kind of the same. Carton, Ramsey, and Shed. They were all kind of the same. Shed got more minutes than those other two guys. Now, if Ramsey and Carton had gotten as many minutes as Shed, maybe they would have had a similar stat line or a little bit better. I would say they're about the same. I think Shed was pretty good at times, but Shed was horrible in the first half. Let's just put it that way. In some ways, Bryce, we have to say that almost every guy who played in the first half was shit, was absolute shit. And then the guys that showed up and didn't play until the second half, well, they played better quality. And Ramsey and Carton did not see the court in the first half. Shed did, though. Shed did, and he was not good in the first half. G saying, but also he is rusty. Shake it off and come back better, Scott. This is what I'm going to say for Scott right now. Do you have any excuse for it? You're rusty. You had 200 days between NBA games until Friday. And in some ways, also, you could come back and have a really good first game back. And the second game is usually like my rhythm's off kind of feeling kind of game. And that could very well be what was last night. Is that it's just like, oh, he's just come back from not playing for a long, long time. Although this is kind of stupid, because what is the difference between losing the last 20 games of the season and just being off for the whole season at the off season? You should be ramped up and ready. In some ways, this is indicative of him not being at training camp, is this problem right here. And yeah, the rustiness of Scotty will shake that rust. It's preseason. This is the time to do it. And you know what? I don't want to see shit like this in the regular season, Scott. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to see shit like this in the regular season. Cowboys here. Good to see Bradley. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Happy Thanksgiving. Dap to you, Bradley. It's hard to win when the Celtics were hitting on all cylinders. I'm not hitting the panic button. We're going to be fine. Great fight, Raptors. It's going to be a long season. Let's just put it that way. In some ways, they just exposed us as they're a team. They have a culture. They have a system. Their coach is this. And in some ways, we're just trying to figure it all out. We're at the very beginning of our journey. And in some ways, we don't have things established like the Celtics do as an organization. It is what it is. In some ways, we got to start somewhere. But yeah, we got to start somewhere. And we don't want to spin our wheels and not build and not grow and not get things going in the right direction. We want to do better and better. So it's a learning curve. In some ways, we got a tough lesson last night. And yeah, I'm not panicking either. I'm going to ride through this whole season with this team no matter what. And as painful as it can be sometimes after games, I will do these reactions, even when the game is so fucking ugly, like it was in the first half last night. It was really ugly. And I'm like, oh, man, when it's that kind of shit's happening, it's like I start to think, man, Lex, you've really committed yourself to the Raptors Freak channel This is a big commitment. Are you still willing to do it? I'm like, yeah, even if it's like this bullshit that I'm seeing in the first half last night. Yeah, Milbester's here. All right, Nick's Freak is here. Go easy on us. In some ways, I want y'all to beat the team we played last night this season, Knicks. So go ahead now. Morning, Lex. How's Monday and your weekend? I was all right. He cut it off. I was okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know. It's been all right. I've had a pretty good weekend, other than the game last night. It is what it is. In some ways, I'm separating my feelings of happiness away from whether the Raptors win or not. That's different than the past. In some ways, that I would go the way of the Raptors if they're going to win. But I can't do that with a rebuilding team that's probably going to catch a lot of L's. So yeah, Milbester, I'm doing great. Health-wise, I feel good. And also, I'm very happy to enjoy a Canadian Thanksgiving with the Raptor Freak family this morning on Monday morning. How about that? There you go. Nick's Freak, good to see you. Bryce is saying Scotty's body language was terrible as well. He really has to set that example for the team so they can follow behind. Yeah, Bryce, I totally see what you're saying. In some ways, it's like, look, bro, you have to earn it. You didn't earn anything yet. This league is not about handing out handouts. This is the problem with these fucking young players, a lot of them, is they think it's just the league is here to hand you a bag. You're a talented basketball player. Here's a bag. You're good. No, fuck that shit. You've got to work if you want to win in this league. Sure, anybody can come to the NBA and shoot and score and be a flashy player and collect the bag, but to be a winner in the NBA, to be a top player, to actually do things in the league like DeMar DeRozan, you need to fucking work. And in some ways, yeah, the body language wasn't good, Bryce. It was defeated. It was shaky. It wasn't confident. In some ways, it was awkward. And in some ways, I don't like that. The free throws, you set a tone with that. In some ways, you send a message with your free throws. Bricking those free throws doesn't look good, Scott. And slump shoulders and whine into the refs. None of that looks good. That's not the right action. The right action is get your head up, get to your spots, work, bust your ass, hustle play like Chris Boucher, and make things happen. And if they ain't happening easy, you got to fuck it even harder and bust your ass even harder. That's the way the old NBA was. This young NBA, everybody just wants it to be easy. Fuck that shit. It's not easy. The NBA is hard. And if you don't fucking come at it because looking at it as like a hard thing, you're going to get what you get like you did last night, Scott. Embarrassed by the second team of the Celtics. Just imagine if you were playing Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Drew Holiday last night. They would fucking made you guys lose by 70 or some shit like that. Seriously. It's embarrassing enough that we have our best player on our team playing against the B team of the Celtics, and y'all get fucking doubled up. That's so embarrassing, Scott. Have some pride for yourself. In some ways, Kyle Lowry would be, if he was in that locker room with you, he would be fucking talking some shit to y'all right now. Telling y'all, what the fuck is this shit we're doing out here, Raptors? Wasting our time. What are we doing with our lives? We're going to fucking be like this in this situation. Kyle Lowry was quality control in these kind of ways. In some ways, yeah, he'd read a riot act. Dennis Schroeder, he'd be like this too. In some ways, you don't want to hear these kind of voices on our team. Fred VanVleet, they're telling you where you're fucking up. Well, in some ways, we're not going to get any better because you don't have the voices around you doing that. Garrett Temple may be nice. Maybe he'll say some nice things. I don't know. Kelly Olynyk, other guys on the team, they may be like this. But no, some people need to be honest with you, Scott. And if I'm the one who's being honest with you from the fan nation on here and not just other content creators kissing your ass, telling Scott how great he is, I'll be that guy if you do actually have your ear to the floor and hear me. If Lloyd is listening to me or anybody from Scott's camp, please let him hear what I'm saying today. Because I'm pleading with him to be the best version of Scotty Wayne Barnes. Because I'm not seeing it right now. I'm not seeing it right now. And that's a problem right there. Milbester saying, Lex, the Wolves-Knicks game was crazy. First game for Cat and Randall and DiVincenzo after the trade. MSG gave them a tribute to both. How was the Raptors-Celtics game? DiVincenzo and Rick Brunson had a fight after the game. Yeah, whatever. That's goofy shit. I mean, I'm sure that shit wasn't real or anything like that. I mean, come on. This is the Villanova Wildcats family. Rick Brunson's crazy anyway. He probably talked some shit. He's like a crazy dad who yelled at Jalen Brunson, made him do all kinds of crazy shit when he was young to make him great. So, yeah, he's a Joe Jackson. In some ways, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. That's kind of fun that y'all had the return so already right away with those guys coming back. The Minnesota that I saw that you guys had Scott Foster as your ref last night. But, yeah. That's going to be an interesting rivalry in some ways now because Cat is on y'all's team and he used to be a Timberwolf. And yeah, you guys are on the other team too. So it'll be interesting, the Timberwolves Knicks games this season. Yeah, don't ask me about the game last night. You can hear what I'm saying, Milbester. G saying Missoula told Tatum he's glad he didn't win the MVP. He's that type of coach. He is. He wants to keep him hungry. He wants to keep him motivated. In some ways, they're saying that the things that happened with the Olympics this summer for the Celtics, the snubs, are going to keep them hungry and with something to prove still. In some ways, them winning the championship. In some ways, why'd you do that, Steve Kerr? Why didn't you fucking play Jason Tatum? We want him to be all happy and like satiated with being a champion and an Olympic gold, playing a lot of a role. In some ways, Jaylen Brown getting snubbed from the Olympic team, that motivates him. Jason Tatum not getting to play on the Olympic team, that motivates him. And in some ways, I don't like this. I don't want these guys to be motivated. In some ways, I don't know. My hierarchy of what I would be happiest, Milbester, I'd love for the Knicks to win the Atlantic Division out of everybody. If it's not going to be the Raptors, I want the Knicks to win the Atlantic Division. I don't want the Celtics up there again this year. I don't want the Sixers up there. Milbester, get your fucking team in gear with Cat and win the Atlantic Division. Please, New York Knicks. As insufferable as your fan nation will be, it will be much better than another year of wire-to-wire Celtics being at the top. Seriously. So do something about that, please. Do something about that. Do something about that, my guy. Candy Kush is saying Scotty played like ass. There's no ifs and or buts about it, Candy Kush. And thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing. We do Raptors talk every single morning at 9:30 in the morning, all off season even. We've been talking all summer. We don't take any days off. We're here every day. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free crew. I missed the game. Blessings for Buju Banton over corner tour. You know what? You guys are lucky You guys are lucky that went to the concert instead of watching, that you didn't suffer through that first half of that game and watching the embarrassment of the Raptors against the Celtics B team. Yeah, you were lucky y'all were at that concert and you didn't have to sit through and watch it like we did. Blessings to you, Buju Banton, and everybody else who was at that concert last night. That's right. Milbester saying, Lex, the DiVincenzo situation is really bad. He was pissed off. I feel bad for him. During the Wolves game, he yelled at our Knicks bench while making free throws. He yelled at Tibbs, blaming him. Well, you got to give something to get something. And in some ways, he should be blaming Leon Rose because Leon Rose is the one who made the trade. I don't know if DiVincenzo should be mad at his old coach because it's not like Thibodeau pulled the trigger. I don't know. That's misdirected anger. Why the fuck is he mad anyway? What the fuck, Dante? It's the NBA. It's a business. And you could get shafted at any time. So what? They traded you out for Mikal Bridges as a Villanova Wildcat on that team. I don't feel sorry for him. And him being mad at them, that's fine. Whatever. This is all silly shit anyway. You're still in the NBA, Dante, so just be happy. Yeah, Leon Rose sold you out. Too bad. Too bad. Woo-hoo-hoo. I don't feel bad for him at all. It's stupid. Trevor's saying Celtics coach wanted his team to shoot 50. Hang on, why is it doing that? 53s. That's why they go gold every game. They gold every game. What? They go for that for every game? Is that what you're trying to say? All right, we'll do the team stats since Trevor kind of brought up a team stat kind of thing. The Raptors shot so bad in the first half, but they cleaned it up by the end of the game and shot way better in the second half. So they ended up shooting 47% for the whole game. They actually outshot the Celtics in field goal percentage by the end of the game. That's absolutely amazing because the Celtics did shoot really bad in the second half. It was like a tale of two halves. We shot horrible in the first half. They shot amazing. We shot really bad. They shot really bad in the second half. We shot really good in the second. And we didn't have any three-pointers at half. We had one three-pointer. We ended up with 10 by the end of the game, so we made 9 three-pointers at the end. They still had 18 three-pointers for the whole game. That means they only made like 2 three-pointers in the second half because they made 16 of their three-pointers in the first half. So it's all kinds of crazy, convoluted, lopsided game of two halves. And in some ways, our second half is hollow because they kind of took players out and they played the really, really bottom of their bench. And in some ways, it's like us catching up. They'd already beat us in the first quarter with Peyton Pritchard and Lonnie Walker. That, the later coming back, the comeback and all that, it's just hollow shit. And we shouldn't be totally proud of it, honestly. The free throw shooting was bad. We missed 8 free throws, 68%. That we did get to the line more than them. So we can't say that it was rep manipulation by giving them more free throws than us. They out-rebounded us by 5 rebounds. They were killing us on the boards at halftime, though. And in some ways, that, once again, I'll say it, effort and motivation and hustle was not with the Raptors in the first half. They came out flat, and they did not come correct to match the Celtics championship caliber pedigree. And that was a big problem. That was a big, big problem right there. Turnovers were an issue at times, but not like they were on Friday against the Wizards. In fact, the Celtics turned the ball over way more than us. We did get out on the break a bit. We got 24 fast break points. We did outscore them in the paint. Of course, if they're going to beat us outside and have such a lopsided thing with three-pointers, we better be beating them in the paint to try and make up the difference. And we did. We did. We made 56 points in the paint. But yeah, just an ugly game all around by the stat. It's crazy. We shot better than them, but we still lost by the end of the game. And some of his volume, they got way more shots up, like Trevor's saying. Nako's saying Shed had a better stat line. Ramsey was probably more productive with his minutes. I'm a Shed head. I don't. In some ways, if I'm going to talk about who was better in that, I think all three of them were kind of about the same. But Shed had a really bad first half, just like the rest of them. Everybody who played in the first half who didn't, and all the guys who didn't play in the first half, I'm going to give them a little more credit because Carton and Ramsey didn't get out there till the second half. And in some ways, like Nako's saying, Ramsey was more efficient. He was more efficient with his time and production. And in some ways, I wish I'd seen Carton and Ramsey in the first half. They may have calmed things down quicker. I'm not totally agreeing with Shed being the first backup point guard. In some ways, I like Davion starting in the place of Quickly, but I don't totally agree with Shed being the first guard off the bench. In some ways, I would be putting Carton out there or Ramsey ahead of him to start as the backup point guard. So in some ways, that's part of it right there because Shed is making poor mistakes at times, and also he is missing a lot of shots. Smooth saying, I didn't watch the game. I was checking the Hall of Fame inductions. There you go. See, there's a lot of people who avoided the game, whether you were a Cavs, watch the first half and turn it on, whether you were the ladies at the Buju Banton concert last night, avoiding the game completely, whether you're a poor soul like me that stuck his eyes on that game all 48 minutes of it. Yeah, there were all a couple different people. Smooth didn't even watch. He didn't even watch it. Let's see. G saying, and this is why a group of us said Scotty wasn't ready yet. It was not an insult to him, but his offensive game needed to be worked on before building around him. These reps will be good for him too. It's going to be uncomfortable, and it's not going to be pretty at times, obviously. And Scotty, you got to take this really seriously, and you've got to understand there's levels to this. There's levels to being just a good role player in the league. There's levels to being the best player on the team and being the franchise player. And there's different things you have to do. And G's exactly right. In some ways, I don't like how we just anointed him. In some ways, he has to earn stuff. And all along, in some ways, he's been getting anointed before he's actually earned it. But he's fulfilled the promise and earned it afterwards. But in some ways, that's not how it works in the NBA. In some ways, you need to earn shit, and then you get the reward afterwards. And in some ways, if Scott's coming about it the other way, where he thinks he just deserves stuff, that's a really bad mindset. That is a really, really, really bad mindset. Cool Cat saying, I will watch on League Pass, but I won't post any comments. Yeah, you should watch it. You could watch it just to see what we're talking about today. And the second half is a lot more enjoyable. There's a lot more better chemistry and synergy and effort. I think effort is a really big difference between the two halves. And I once again, I'll give credit to Coach at halftime. Whatever he said to those guys, in some ways he motivated them. Scotty did come back with a different energy after halftime, just like in the Washington game on Friday, where he said, I'm a little embarrassed. I have more turnovers than points in the first half against Washington. Well, it was a similar kind of thing in the game last night. He had a really bad stat line at half, and he cleaned it up and made it a little bit better, but he still only ended up with 10 points at the end of the game and hardly any stat stuffing. Hardly any stat stuffing at all. So Cool Cat, you watch it, Coach, and you can tell me what you think about it tomorrow if you feel like it. Monique saying it was a blast. Cool Cat, enjoyed it myself last night. Buju killed it. There you go. The vibes were strong. I bet the music was fantastic. He is a legend. He's such a legend, and we're so blessed and grateful that he is still with us doing the music that he does. Seriously, Buju Banton, you go, man. That's right. Cowboy Sam, did Buju perform "Boom Bye Bye"? Cat? I'm probably sure if it's one of his their big hits. Yeah, he's gonna play it. That's right. Kaz is saying, I don't care. The Knicks defense, the Knicks deserve that from Dante. He signed a discounted deal to buy in New York, and they traded him. I hope Dante busts the Knicks' sorry ass every game. This is cool. I like this energy from Kaz. I can get behind this. Well, if he's mad at the Knicks and he wants to bust them up now, yeah, let's see it. We've seen DiVincenzo be very powerful as a three-point shooter and kill other teams. So that energy coming at the Knicks for this kind of thing, yeah, that's justice. And in some ways, I'm sure the group chat between the Wildcat guys is probably very funny. right now, because like Dante may be talking a lot of serious shit to Jalen and Josh and Mikhail. And yeah, he does have some receipts for them for this situation. I totally get this. And in some ways, yeah, I want to see DiVincenzo come back at the Knicks and kill them from the 3-point line. Oh, yeah, I do. That's right. That's right. Smooth saying Vince made a point of saying he's going in as a Raptor during his speech. He seemed really emotional. Yeah, that went a long way with me. In some ways, once again, in the hall, it won't really signify him like Cooperstown with the hats and baseball. Andre Dawson, when you see his plaque in the Cooperstown, he's wearing an Expos hat. And that means a lot that he represented the Montreal Expos in the Hall of Fame for baseball. In some ways, we won't see that on Vince's plaque at Naismith Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Unfortunately, they don't have hats or jerseys on the plaque. So it'll just be Vince Carter and it'll have his face on there. So there won't be any real outward showing that it's Raptors Vince Carter that's inducted. In some ways, this is kind of just like a gesture. In some ways, it's not really a real thing. It'd be cool if it had like the Raptors logo on there on his thing, but they don't do that for these Hall of Fame inductions. They just have the player in their name, and it's not really affiliated with the team. So in some ways, it's a hollow gesture, but it is a gesture nonetheless. And as long as maybe the text in the story for Vince for his plaque in the Hall of Fame says like created Vinsanity in Canada, had one of the greatest dunk competitions ever as a Toronto Raptor. You put those kind of things in there and you link the words Toronto Raptors on the plaque. Well, maybe there is the connection there then. Maybe there is in that way. Yeah. Yeah. G's saying this is why I am an advocate of players not taking discounts unless they have a no trade clause. As much as it's great gestures, owners will use that contract as bait. Yeah. 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 I mean, the NBA is a business as much as like, I'd like to think it's just happy, cheery. Let's get guys together that like to play together and have fun. No, it's a business, and business decisions are made all the time in the NBA. And this is one of them. And yeah, I can understand why Dante's pissed off. I really can. Milbester's saying if the NBA didn't have salary caps, this doesn't happen. Well, fuck that shit. We don't want to be like the MLB, Milbester, Mr. Baseball Head, where you can just fucking pay for championships. Yeah, Mr. I'm in New York loves that idea of no salary caps. Fuck that shit. You're crazy, Milbester, coming in here with the NBA would be better with no salary caps. It wouldn't happen like this. Yeah, the league would suck too, because rich would only buy championships left and right in this league, just like the Yankees have done for fucking decades. We don't want to be like baseball for that, where it's like your payroll will fucking get you World Series. If the Dodgers win the World Series this year, well, they bought it by fucking buying Ohtani. So it's like we don't want to model ourselves after Major League Baseball and their bullshit, because honestly, that league is broken, and it has been broken for a long, long time. You pay for World Series rings in Major League Baseball, Milbester. And I thank God that we have a salary cap in the NBA, and there's a chance for everybody because of that. If you say that real easy as a New York fan. Ooh, if they didn't have a salary cap in the NBA, yeah, you know what would fucking be happening? Yeah, the Knicks would spend like crazy over everybody else, just like the Yankees do in Major League Baseball, and buy fucking NBA championships. I ain't about that, Milbester. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You go ahead and be like that in the big market of the Mecca of Big Apple. Yeah, you go ahead. Fiercely saying, morning fam and happy Monday. Driving back from Syracuse, check the box score, and I was horrific. 59-24. I stopped looking. Mind you, it's preseason, but we still need to do better. Yeah, the doubling up is disgusting. It's disgusting. I hate looking at the score and seeing that the other team has double our score. And that was pretty much the whole first half last night. Really, really ugly, MJ. I'm glad a lot of the Raptor freaks were too busy to be watching this game last night. In some ways, y'all dodged a bullet not having to watch this game last night. Whether you're watching Hall of Fame, whether you're doing Thanksgiving with your friends, whether you're driving back from Syracuse, whether you're grooving to the amazing vibes of Buju Banton. Thank God y'all were spared. And my eyes weren't. I watched it just like Clockwork Orange with my eyes like this. It was like the horrors in that one part with Malcolm McDowell where they put him in. They're going, we're rehabilitating you droog. Put him down, and they made him sit there, and he couldn't look away. That's what it was for me last night, the horrors I saw on the television screen, just like a Clockwork Orange. Oh, my gosh, the horrors. The horrors. Smooth saying Boston played their bench guys last night, right? Yeah, they didn't play They didn't play anybody from the championship rotation. Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, that's it. They were the only guys. They had Queta starting. Yeah, let's look at the Celtics starting lineup from last night, and we'll look at them a little bit. Sam Hauser, 5 points. He could have been much worse to us. He was 2 of 11, 1 of 7 from 3. He did get 9 rebounds. How the fuck is Sam Hauser out rebounding you, Bruno Fernando? How the fuck is that happening? Seriously, Bruno Fernando, how the fuck did you get out rebounded by Sam Hauser? Queta, Kita, or whatever his name is, double-double, 15 rebounds, 12 points, the starting center. In some ways, Jakob was handling him pretty good, but at times, Queta was actually handling Jakob. Pritchard, absolutely electric right from the start, 19 points, and pretty much all those 19 points were in the first quarter. He didn't have to do jack shit later. He absolutely killed us in the first quarter. 5 of 11 from 3, 7 of 13, 9 assists for Peyton Pritchard also. Lonnie Walker, 8 of 15 from the field. He's an exhibit 10, 20 points. He didn't get any stats other than shooting. 4 of 9 from 3. Yeah, 20 points for Lonnie in 30 minutes. Jordan Walsh outplaying Scotty Barnes. 6 of 12, 50% shooting. That ball guy, 1 of 4 from 3. 10 rebounds for him and 16 points. He got a double-double. 10 and 16, Scott. What did you do? 10 and 2. You did 10 and 2. 10 points, 2 rebounds. Jordan Walsh got 16 points and 10 rebounds. He double-doubled your ass. He outplayed you. How the fuck did you let Jordan Walsh outplay you? Charlie Villanueva's little brother, his little brother. I'm telling you, how the fuck did you let that happen, Scott? And then some no-name guy who just won, I'm going to be a Celtic for a day. Drew Peterson came out and dropped 6 of 9 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 23 points. He was their leading scorer. Some guy who looked like he was just some ordinary dude who goes to college in Boston. Then Drew Peterson just showed up and fucking killed the Raptors last night. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I won't go over the rest of them. But yeah, that's who beat us last night. Peyton Pritchard, Lonnie Walker the fourth, and Drew Peterson. What the fuck is that? Seriously. What the fuck is that? Cass saying no starters at all. Not even starters. Not even some of their main bench guys either. None of them were there. Hardly at all. They didn't even play Frank Cornett. They didn't even play Frank fucking Cornett. Al Horford, nope. He wasn't there either. None of them were there. None of them. Porzingis, nope. He wasn't there. None of them. That's right. Wow, man. Wow. Yeah, Scotty got beat by beating Celtics, and that's why I'm telling his fucking ass off today. Seriously, Scott, have some pride. Michael Jordan wouldn't have allowed this to happen to him. Kobe Bryant wouldn't have allowed this to happen to him. DeMar DeRozan probably wouldn't let this happen to him. Seriously. Cass saying their best player they played last night was Peyton Pritchard. That's right. The backup point guard of the Celtics kicked the Raptors' ass last night. It's so fucking bad. Kareem saying, I'm not worried about preseason. Once we tighten up our rotation, we'll be a lot better. It just sucks to see this poor product. I'm worried about this, Kareem. I don't want this half-ass season where somebody is injured all year long, where it's either Scotty's out or Manuel's out or RJ's out, and we never have our full barbecue. We're having like 2 out of 3 plates. Don't be playing this kind of shit this year, Raptors, where you're half-assing your health just to kind of submerge yourself in losses. I'll be very frustrated with this because we won't ever actually get to see full-strength Raptors at any point, just like last year at certain times. We had so many excuses for why things were so fucked up and tumultuous with trading Siakam and Anunoby and all this kind of shit going on, and then the injuries late. We can't have this year. You got to give us product at least for 2 or 3 months of the year where we have the full roster playing and healthy. Because in some ways, we're not going to do jack shit without some health at some point. So maybe at the beginning of the season, we don't have health because we're in the really hard part. But if we're all healthy at the end of the year and we're winning way more than we're losing, okay, I'll take that trade-off. But there has to be at some point in the season a period where the Raptors are all available to play. Because if there ain't, it's going to be a long-ass season. And we're going to collect L's everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. Because if we don't have our full team, our full talent, we can't fucking compete in this league. That's just the damn truth. This isn't like a couple years ago when we had a championship team where we could have Norman Powell and Siakam. Norman Powell head off the bench. No, we're in a point where we're fucked if we don't have barbecue. And in some ways, Emmanuel quickly come back, RJ Barrett come back, and Scotty stay healthy. Seriously, because we can't be having this half-ass injury shit all year long. Seriously, it's going to be bad. But Bester's saying, I don't get the Rick Brunson DiVincenzo fight at all. I'm just lost with this story because, man, they fucked up and he's not happy in it in Minnesota. Well, in some ways, he's like, look, it's a roller coaster of emotions. In some ways, it's tied up with his friends. In some ways, they're goofing on him. They're probably like, yeah, you're out, bro. Ah, ha, ha. And he's like, you motherfuckers. And he's in the group chat, and they're probably all fighting and amping it up. It's a little bit different because these guys are so close as Villanova teammates that, there probably was a lot of jawing back and forth in their group chat and different things. And Dante's like feeling pissed because he feels like he's getting raw into the deal. Just as much as Brunson took less money to stay and help things, he did the same thing. And Leon Rose fucked him. And in some ways, he's like, you're out, bro. We may win a championship this year and you'll see us get rings and you won't. So I can see why he's pissed off. And maybe Rick Brunson is just like, he's a vociferous, talkative kind of bulldog kind of guy. He's just like meeting his energy. It's like, you're going to come at my son, Jalen, like this. I'm going to fucking talk shit to you for him kind of thing. It could be something like that, Milbester. I don't know. I'm not a Knicks freak. I'm only looking at from the outside, and this is what I can see. Smooth saying, and the Raptors played their starters. Guys, come on, man. They played 3 of their 5 starters. They had Pirtle, Scotty, and Grady. No IQ, no RJ. Yeah, that's exactly why I'm pissed, Smooth. Have some fucking pride, Scotty Barnes, and come out there and show you're the absolute best player in the game when they fucking Celtics are playing their B team. Seriously, you came out there and you looked like you weren't even like the top 5 best players out there last night. You weren't one of the best players on our team, and you were not one of the best players compared to Lonnie Walker and Drew Peterson and Jordan Walsh and fucking Peyton Pritchard. What is that list I just gave you, Scotty? These guys outplayed you. You have to have some fucking pride and say, I'm the best player on the league in the court tonight. You showed up like you're another jabroni, just showing up in a jersey and coming to go through the motions. Man, you got to get that eye of the tiger. You got to get amped up. You got to show some fire a little bit better than this. Too lackadaisical is what I'm saying right there. That's right. Nako's saying Dante plays for a contender on a team where he fits and plays a good role. I don't feel bad for him. Well, he loved the family of New York. He loved the relationship with the Knicks fans. He loved being with his friends, Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. And in some ways, that's all gone just to make a big move so they have a center. He's a sacrifice. He got DeMar DeRozan, honestly. That's what happened to him just now. He got DeMar DeRozan. And if he feels anything like what DeMar felt like when we traded him, well, that's what it is. That's what it is right there. Blackhawks here. Good to see Neil. This is more on Darko. He must have these guys ready defensively. Darko didn't get it under control until the third. I commend them for reducing 30-point deficit, but it must start in the first. Well, Darko can only control so much. He prepares them. He tells them what they should do. But if they come out half-assed effort and the Celtics come out like kicking everybody's butt and they don't match the energy, well, this is what happens. And in some ways, it's the dog-ass effort of the Raptors that was the problem, Blackhawk. If you watch the game, you would have saw them playing lazy as fuck and not getting after it. And meanwhile, the Celtics, very much part of their DNA and their championship culture, getting after loose balls, taking apart mistakes by the Raptors was a big part of it also. Every little mistake we made, we could make it against the Wizards in the first 2 games of preseason because they suck. They're not going to capitalize on it. But with a team that's a creme de la creme, top-notch team like the Celtics, they will pick you apart and make you pay for every little mistake you make. And these guys came in half-assed, and they didn't have the right energy. And they looked shook. In some ways, there were times last night where we looked like a beta team that was shook and was weak sauce. I was calling it, this is weak sauce. Grady Dick being weak sauce in the first half. Jakob making little mistakes is weak sauce. Scotty playing weak sauce. Weak sauce. That's what they had last night. They had weak sauce. You're going to say it's on Darko, but he can't control the players and what they're doing on there. He can yell at them. He can read them the riot act. He can get mad at them. You think it's preparation? No. I think it's that these players didn't show up with the right leadership on the court. And that leadership didn't lead them the way they did. We can see the difference between the first game in preseason and what RJ and Grady did when they came out. RJ came out with leadership and led the team with making baskets immediately to set the tone, give us a huge lead, and we routed the Washington Wizards in Montreal wire to wire a week ago. Well, did Scott come out and set any kind of fucking tone for the team last night? No, he didn't. He set a tone of whining and not playing hard and kind of playing half-assed and letting the game come to him. He needed to go take the game and make the game what he wanted himself. as the most talented, strongest, powerful player involved in the game last night. He did not throw his weight around to show that that's who he is. And that's a big part of it right there. G saying Dante told Brunson's dad, this is what happens when they let you run the show. He is very mad at Brunson's dad. I guess he made the call. Yeah, who knows? Rick Brunson is a talkative person. He talks a lot of shit during the game. He's kind of like the voice piece for his son. And in some ways, he's a real personality. And so he's a lightning rod. And so as much as Jamal McGlure was like that for our team in the past, well, that's who Brunson is right now. So that's a part of it. The Rick Brunson, not Jalen. Milbester's saying, but they said DiVincenzo said that to Tibbs, not Rick. He probably said it the whole damn bench. And who knows what he's saying? Some of it may be half-assed. I know it probably looked really intense, but also in some ways, you got to remember this is WWE in some ways. They're all in the same cahoots. In some ways, they're still best friends. It doesn't change anything. He may feel burned or bad or mad about it, and he may be kind of posturing and making it show up, a whole show of it. In some ways, there may be not total teeth on this. Some of it may be very much joking around to a degree also, Milbester. I wouldn't be worried about this. Y'all are in good shape. You're going to be fine. Maybe Dante does come back and haunt you in some games in the future where he kills you guys because he's pissed at y'all. But that's the price you pay when you do business in the NBA. That's just how it is right there. That's right. That's right. Blackhawks saying, we know the Celtics have shooters. We can't dare them to shoot. Well, they did a really good job early in the game of getting room with screens. They were using Queta or whatever the fuck his name is really well at the top of the key. And Peyton Pritchard was getting just enough daylight away from off day that he didn't have an off day. In some ways, they were very, very effective at making room and absolutely firing away on that shot in the very brief daylight that they got from that. Some of the shots that Peyton Pritchard made early in the game were not easy shots. They were coming quickly to contest them, but he made them anyway. He made them pay with just a little bit of daylight. And that was part of it right there. That was part of it right there. Kaz is saying, expecting calls from the refs during the preseason is crazy work. Yeah, I hate that, Scott. I hate that so much. That entitlement pisses me off. And the other thing I want to go off on Scott for also is for 2 games, you've done your stupid ass look back dunk shit. And you know what? You can't do this when you're losing, when you're a loser. It's really Bush League. Really, really fucking Bush League. I hate that you do it in the first place. I know that you're trying to make this a signature thing for you, that you look back when you get a breakaway dunk, and you did it a couple of times on Friday against Washington. Well, you did it again last night, but you're fucking playing like shit. Your team is down by 30. Why the fuck do you think you should be doing showing up kind of shit like that to the champion Celtics when you fucking play like such dog shit? You know, you got to know there's a place and a time for shit like this, Scott. And once again, you're doing this shit ahead of time when you haven't earned it. You don't earn the right to taunt the other team by looking back at them on a breakaway dunk when your fucking team is down by 30, Scott. It's not a good look. It's Bush League, and it looks stupid as fuck, honestly. It looks so fucking stupid when you do that. In some ways, it embarrasses us that you are showboating when we're fucking losing so poorly. So honestly, you don't get the right to showboat unless you're fucking winning, Scott. Seriously. Because otherwise it just looks Bush League. It looks cheap as fuck, and it embarrasses us. Honestly. Seriously, why the fuck are you looking back at them when you are looking ahead at them with the score way above you? Seriously. Oh my gosh. That is the other thing that's bugging the shit out of me. And I know he's done this since he was little, but in some ways it's one of the dumbest things he does. It's like, dude, you can only do this if you're fucking winning and you can really fucking gloat. You have nothing to gloat for right now, Scotty. So once again, you're putting the cart before the horse. You don't get the calls from the refs without earning them by showing work, and you should not be showboating and showing up the other team unless you're fucking winning. Seriously, it's a bad look. It is a bad look. Fiercely saying, I believe Scotty will do better once RJ and IQ play. However, it should be a non-factor, and any lineup of ours should be lethal or at least decent. Yeah, it looked really bad. It's going to be a long season if the B team of the Celtics can take out three-fifths of our starting lineup. It's going to be a really bad, ugly season. G saying the one player I need to see more is Battle. Yeah, I'm with you on this. He makes his shots and hustles in the paint. I need to see him against good competition to evaluate him. He knows his role and has great form. No, I'm really big on Battle. If we're talking about the battle to make the team, well, Battle's winning. In some ways, he's winning. I thought that him and Rodin had the least chance, but right now, he looks better than Fernando and Ramsey. If those 4 guys are battling for one spot, Jamison Battle is the one that should win the battle right now because he's consistently made his shot over many games. And I look at my stars of the game spreadsheet, and Jamison Battle's on there from the Summer League. One, two, three times for Summer League out of 5 games. He was one of the stars of the game. And so far in this preseason, he's been 2 out of the 3 games, one of the stars of the game also. So that's showing a consistency to make his 3-pointers. And this is a huge thing that we need, obviously, because we're having a really hard time making threes in preseason right now. So why wouldn't we get Battle to be the last man on the roster? Seriously, we'll run 6 rookies this year and have Jamison Battle out there just as a 3-point specialist, because that man is exactly what G's saying. He knows his role. He has great form. And we did see Jamison mixing it up down in the battles for rebounds late in the game. He was getting a second effort for us by getting a rebound, offensive rebound, and getting us a second chance. So I like that. I like that a lot. I'm with G on this. I'm Team Battle right now. Team Battle. That's right. Infamous saying, salute, freaks. It's obvious Scott is not in game shape. He missed a week of training camp. He is not there. He will be fine when the season starts. Pump the brakes. Now, I want to stand up for him and believe what you're saying. But in some ways, it's also Scott's been working out all summer long. It's not like he's conditioning is off. He should be right top notch. In some ways, he made a tweet a couple of weeks ago saying it's the season starting. We got to be ready. Well, are you ready, Scott? Is what I'm wondering. Are you ready? Now, is a Fred VanVleet Jr. effect the opposite for you? Is it some ways as much as Freddie played better when his son was born with your child here? Is this kind of like a distraction to the point where your mind is not totally on the game? Or is there other things going on in your life that's screwing you up from not mentally being in the game and in tune and doing what you need to be doing on the court? Because there's something wrong there, whether it's physically not being ready, like Infamous is saying, or mentally not being ready for playing right now. Something is not right now. That's for sure. And listen, Scott, you're the lightning rod. You're the leader. You're the franchise face. In some ways, you're going to get more criticism from me, just like somebody like Siakam or VanVleet or Lowry or the players in the past would have, because that is your spot. You're the captain. You're the leader of this team. And in some ways, we go as the captain goes. The captain goes down with the ship. That's what I'm saying. The ship's going down. Well, I'm coming to the captain first to talk about what the fuck was going on last night. And that's part of it right there. Nako's saying, I can believe the Knicks coaching staff are kind of dicks. I don't know if the Wolves do this trade without Dante, and getting a center and off of Randall is important. Well, they had the deal worked out with Cat, but they added a first-round pick, and that's what sweetened the deal enough for Minnesota to do it, was the first-round pick was actually the one. DiVincenzo was already in the deal, and they had to add the first-round pick to get Cat to go to New York, was what the Knicks had to add. So that's what happened in that whole deal right there. Smooth saying Vince also thanked Nab Bhatti as well. That was cool. Well, I haven't seen the whole interview yet. I'm sure, of course, he's going to thank Nav. Nav has been one of his best supporters this whole entire time. When everybody in Toronto hated Vince Carter, Nab Bhatia was still kissing his ass and saying, "Oh, Vince is so great. I love Vince." All this bullshit. Yeah, Nav, in some ways, you're too happy. Like, I love everybody, even when they fucking shit all over us. Like Nick Nurse and Vince Carter, the times when they did. You standing up for Nick Nurse after he left and all this stuff. Oh, it's just business and stuff. Well, why does it feel so fucking personal? Nat Bhatia. In some ways, it's like I'm with Wayne Strainer. Nat Bhatia is too fucking nice in some ways. Of course, Vince is going to thank him. He kissed his ass this whole entire time. And if there's one Raptors fan that Vince loves, it's Nat Bhatia, the super fan. Because he's always, in fact, Nat Bhatia loves Vince Carter so much, it's disgusting to me. Oh, Michelle Carter, she's such an amazing person. She's so great and all this stuff. I fucking hear him talk about that, and I'm just like puking because I'm like, of course he's going to thank Nat Bhatia. Of course he's going to, because Nat Bhatia, in some ways, as much as he loves the Raptors, he loves himself even more. And in some ways, his connections and peeping connections with the power brokers of the NBA and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you see Nab putting his little ring finger over Billy Crystal's shoulder in the super fan picture last night. Nab, you didn't get inducted last night. Why are you in that picture? Jack Nicholson should be there with Spike Lee and the Sixers super fan and Billy Crystal. You're already in there. I get it. You put the super fan collection in there. But in some ways, let's not get it twisted. Nab Bhatia started buying season tickets to the Raptors to self-promote himself to get to this point, to build something to where he is at this point. There's a lot of self-interest in what fucking Nab Bhatia does in his life. Let's just put it that way. Some people say, oh, no, he's just a hardworking guy. He did this. Bullshit. He's a great promoter. He's a great schmoozer. And he's really, really built himself up as the legend. in some ways. Yeah, that's part of it. I love Nap. Don't get me wrong. And I'm proud of our super fan. But also, there's some sides of him that are not like me. And I will say that right now. Yeah, Milbester saying Wolves wanted Dante last season, but he signed with the Knicks because of Brunson and Hart were there. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Kaz saying we need battle shooting so bad. I agree with this. I completely agree with this. Neil saying the refs were denying us calls on the last 2 games. That tells me Silver's trying to put us in the lottery. Yeah, well, they're going to do this. There's no respect for us. We have to earn it all over again every year. And that was part of my rant earlier for Scott at the beginning of the stream. Is Scott, you can't come out there and just expect superstar calls right away when you're not playing like a superstar right away. You have to establish you're a superstar once again. And then the refs will be like, oh, yeah, he's a superstar. We got to give him superstar calls. But to think that you could just ease into the season and just like get easy, lazy ass calls from the beginning, you're not going to get that, Scott. And that's what I saw in the last 2 games. You wanting the refs to bail you out with free throws, and then you can get up there and brick them and go 0 for 2 when you get the free throws? Yeah, this is not superstar kind of shit, Scott. And you do not get superstar calls when you don't act like it. Listen, I expect the referees to call for the home team, and that's where we've been. We've been on the road 2 games in Washington and in Boston. And yeah, they're going to be home crowd calls, but Josh Tiven, what happened last night happened. Yeah, there were a couple 50-50 calls that they called in favor of the Celtics for possession in the first half, but that was not the reason why we were doing what we were doing. No, it is not. I'm not blaming the refs for nothing in the last 2. Sure, Tony Brothers and Murat Kugat were a certain fucking kind of refereeing on Friday night, but that's not the reason why we lost the Wizards. No, it's not. That is not the reason why we lost to them. That's right. That's right. Kaz saying, if we already need calls during the preseason, is not a good look. Yeah. And Scotty shouldn't be fucking grifting for calls. He never should have been a part of his game. Guys that do that, I have no respect for. You need to fucking come correct, solid, and 100% efficiency and execute. And the referees are not your bailout. That is something I do not respect. You know what? You get good enough at baiting fouls like DeMar DeRozan with an action where they hit you and then you get fouled and you get the line. That's different. But just going there to expect the call, they're not going to call it for you, and you're going to be disappointed, and then they're going to fucking score at the other end because you're whining to the refs. Seriously, not a good look. Like Cass said, it's not a good look. Cowboys saying Papa Scotty Barnes will kill it. No worries. I like how Mobo played last night. Can't wait to see Jacoby play on the next. His status is going to play in the next game. I don't know if Jacoby's playing the next game. I don't know. I don't think he will. I have no idea, Cowboy. I'll have the injuries for tomorrow all set up for the status report for our lineup tomorrow morning on the preview for the game here in Toronto, a 1 preseason game at Scotiabank Arena tomorrow. And let's see if we get home cooking calls at our home court tomorrow in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. So, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get Jacoby in the preseason. I don't know. In some ways, this is really bad for his young rookie career to not get off the ground running right away with us right now. In some ways, he would have opportunities to go in there and shine and do stuff in these games, Jacoby. So you better fucking get healthy. Is what I'm saying right now. Bryce is saying, agreed. We got to get Battle some more shots. That dude wants to shoot. Well, maybe we will see more of him in the last 2 preseason games, and then tough decisions will be made. And hopefully we see him on our team this year. I really do kind of want to see Jamison Battle win the roster battle. It just seems like it's smart. We need some more shooting, and he's that guy. We lost Gary Trent Jr. It's weird. I don't know if Grady's going to exactly fill in that spot, and maybe we need a little more backup with some really solid, good shooting. That's what I'm saying. Nako's saying the refs were bad last night. Probably can't blame them for the loss. They weren't bad. The refs weren't bad last night. They were fine. Gerald, that is not bad. That's not a ref hit job last night. That is a little bit of home court favor with possession arrows, and that's it. There were a couple times where the ball went out, and it looked like it could have been ambiguously off either a Celtic or a Raptor, and they pointed in the favor of the Celtics. But that's a home cooking kind of thing. That's normal for Boston games. A Boston home game, if there's a 50-50 call, the referees will call it for the home team. That's just how it is. It's just how it is. Celtics have got that kind of home court advantage, and they are the champions also. So they're going to get a respect for that also. But, yeah, you can't say that the refs were bad. I thought Josh Tiven and them did a fair job. They really, really did. And I'm not going to blame the refs. I'll blame the refs when it is right to blame the refs. I'm not this fucking cheesy-ass Raptor fan that just blames the refs all the time for why we lose. No, if I blame the refs, it is for real a reason. And there's no reason to blame the refs last night. Not at all. Not at all. Milbester saying Rick Brunson, I never understood him as a coach, but why DiVincenzo got beef with him? It was such a mess what happened. And that was preseason. Wait until they play in MSG during the regular season. And Bryce is like dead because of Milbester. I know. Maybe I'm reading him too much, but it's seeing Milbester in consternation about this beef with DiVincenzo and the Knicks is kind of funny in some ways. It's like, dude, just chill, man. Whatever. You got an op, okay? You go, oh, it's too bad. Your op is a former like baller that used to ball out and win games for y'all. In fact, he won a game against us last year solely. DiVincenzo's threes beat the Raptors in one of our games against y'all last year. And well, now he's on the other side. Now you got to be a little scared, Milbester, when you play the Timberwolves. Well, thank God you only play them twice a year. How about that? How about that? Fiercely saying, just watch the Liberty versus the Lynx highlights games too. Extremely competitive, and like many others, I'm also finding WNBA finals more entertaining than NBA. Very smart to have best of 7 next year. Yeah, the league is growing. It's growing with teams and growing in time and series, and also in the regular season games, and that's fantastic. Keep growing, WNBA, and we will be there soon, Toronto, in that WNBA league, and I'm excited about it. I in some ways that's a saving grace for me. If we're going to go through a kind of a depressing rebuilding time with the Raptors where they're going to lose a lot, the promise of a WNBA franchise to root for and see getting built is absolutely a ray of sunshine for the Raptors freak and the Raptor freak family. That's right. That's right. G saying we actually shot the three better. They took 53 threes, which is their bread and butter. They moved the ball well. We were trying to go inside too much, and they would just clog the paint. Need some better ball movement. Yeah, just better decision making, and honestly, better effort. If there's one thing I'm going to get on the Raptors for, is the effort in the first half was lacking, and the effort in the second half was way better. And if Darko lit a fire under their ass at halftime and kind of reality checked them, well, he did a good job because he got way better results out of them in the second half. He did. He really, really did. Infamous is saying, whoever the Boston shooting coach is, we need to kidnap him and take him across the border. Notice most of the Celtics shots don't touch the rim. Laugh out loud. Well, in some ways, that's the way they've built their team. You know, as much as we valued wings that were versatile for a while on our team, they've been kind of always valuing sharp shooters like Hauser. Like Hauser is that kind of guy. And that's why they drafted this 3-point shooting center, Baylor, or whatever his name, Sheeman. So they've got a type that they're building around their team. They've got their main core guys that do certain things, but then they want role player, really good diehard shooters around them. And that is very much by design. And some of those guys aren't really that good as shooters. They just get hot from time to time. But somebody like Sam Hauser is a bona fide shooter, a legit scary shooter. And there are a few of those guys on the bench for the Celtics in that way. I don't know if we need their shooting coach. It's just that maybe we need to continue to draft people like Grady Dick and Jamison Battle and have them around our team more, because that's a player type. And the Celtics have targeted that player type for a few years now, and they're reaping the rewards of having quite a few of these guys around. So that's part of it right there. Carlos saying, hang on, it jumped. Let me make sure I get back to the right spot in the chat. And I appreciate everybody being here talking about the Raptors today. Let's see what all the different opinions are on things. I see that there's quite a few comments in here, and we got some new names in here by the time I get here. He's saying, good morning, Lex and Freak Nation. I turned off the game at the second quarter as I was at a party. Didn't expect the game to be that close. What happened in the second half? Well, we started trying harder. Mobo was hitting the floor. Like, he was literally laying on the floor a couple times in the third and fourth quarter. Grady Dick also getting after it on the ground. And there was just a better hustle. There's a better competitiveness. There's a better meeting their energy than in the first half. The first half, we didn't have any energy, and they just ran roughshod over us. The second half, we met their energy, and we outplayed them. We outscored them. We out-hustled them, and we outshot them. So it really was a tale of two halves. It's just too bad the half that mattered was the first half where they doubled us up. And we were just coming back trying to scrape it together over the rest of the game. So there we go. G saying Dante is now the villain Nova, and I'm here for it. Infamous. Apparently, Lethal Shooter is on their payroll coaching their shooting. I think Lethal Shooter is a free agent and does stuff for a whole bunch of different teams. I don't know if that's necessarily Lethal Shooter. I think that's just Sam Hauser. I think that's just Peyton Pritchard and that their work and that they've done to fix and make themselves such good shooters. So I don't know if it's exactly Lethal Shooter, but it could be. Carlos saying, Cowboy, damn, Lex is crying. I will watch that VC speech. Then I was trying to ignore it. Yeah, not totally crying. I got teary-eyed. I didn't actually really cry. But yeah, I got emotional about this because in some ways I do like healing wounds. I do like making things right. And I've been crying out for this from Vince for decades. In some ways, I've wanted you to fix things with us for a long, long time. And in some ways, you're coming about it almost right at this point. You're almost right. And maybe we can heal this by the time of the end of the season. We'll see. We'll see. Vince, you did a really good job last night. And in some ways, I can't be mad at you for the stuff you did at your Hall of Fame speech last night. Now, I have to watch it completely. Maybe there was some out of pocket shit that I didn't see yet that I'll be like, oh, no, wait, fuck, he said that. But well, we'll see. It's from the first preliminary things that I've seen from it. He did a good job in ingratiating himself and getting things better for longtime Raptors fans like me in some ways. That's important. Yeah, that's important. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying the speech was fantastic. It really was. There you go. There you go. That's what I'm saying. Just put a little preparation into it and put some heart into it and be authentic, and you'll be fine, Vince. But an apology would go a long way. But if we don't get that exactly, as long as you're honoring the franchise, the culture, the city, the country, the fans, and your co-teammates and the people that you work with. Yeah, he did make a little crack. He's like, he named all his coaches that he played for in Toronto. And he's like, yeah, there was a lot of coaches. And that's kind of him alluding to why he left. But still, it's true that he did have a lot of coaches when he played for the Raptors. And that's why I tell Raptors fans, don't fucking throw Darko out like he's spoiled milk. We don't want coaching carousels to go on around Scotty. So far, Scotty's had two coaches, Nick Nurse and Darko. And we don't want him to get to the point where it's like, man, you guys just keep switching the coach in and out. Then he might get into a territory like Vince Carter. So that's a thing. You guys got to value Darko Rajakovic and him to continue to do what he's doing because he is a good coach, because the things that happened with Vince were partly because of a coaching carousel. And that's something that's really important for young Raptors fans to understand when they start talking about the coach is no good. Let's fire him. Let's fire him. If you guys have a short patience with the coach, well, our superstar may have a short patience with being here. And that's not what we want. That's right. Fiercely saying infamous. I know Celtics trained lethal shooter a few years ago, but definitely I must admit their shooting is elite. Yeah, I don't want to give him that, Fiercely. Hang on. Fuck that. We're not saying the Celtics have elite shooting. Don't give them that kind of crap. They're going to have off days and good days here and there. In some ways, no, fuck this. We're not kissing the Celtics ass. Smooth saying he said that it's because of his time in Toronto he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Well, he's just telling the truth. And in some ways, once again, that's the kind of statement that we'll get in my good books, Vince, that you're recognizing that without Toronto, you're not in the Hall of Fame. And that's part of it right there. That's part of it right there. Smooth saying he talked about Kyle Lowry in the 2019 chip. Yeah. I saw that part too. And yeah, Kyle wanted him to come and be in the interview with him after the game, and Vince humbly declined. And in some ways, I give him a lot of points for that. In some ways, Vince could obviously jumped in there because Kyle was allowing him to, but he didn't. He left us have our championship being involved. In some ways, it would have came off wrong. It really would have. And I'm glad that Vince had the realization at that moment that, no, I shouldn't do this with Kyle, because it would have looked really bad. Like him being such a shitty person to us on his way out and trying to get accolades and feeling the feelings of our championship when it happened. No, and especially since he was still playing at that time. So that it would have been really bad optically the way it would have looked. Trust me, it would have looked really bad. Smooth saying and how Kyle wanted. Yeah, I just said that. Monique saying back in Scotiabank Arena tomorrow, I'll get my Debo book, enjoying the journey, but extremely busy. Yeah, Mo, you've been really busy. In fact, you've missed a lot of streams in the last month, but I understand it's probably because you're super busy. And we always love it when you're here present, when you are here and stuff. But yeah, you're going to get your DeMar DeRozan Above the Noise signed copy tomorrow from Jennifer. And that's going to be fantastic. That's so nice of her to do that for you. And yeah, it'll be great to be back in the building and checking out the Raptors in the preseason at Scotiabank Arena. So go on down there and get the vibes right, Monique. I know you will. Kaz is saying, yeah, Bruno hasn't impressed. He can go. Well, dude, listen, you're playing for your NBA life. You better be playing for your life and not coming out there half-assing. There's no reason for Sam Hauser to out-rebound you, Bruno Fernando. Come on, man. That's messed up, bro. That's messed up. Infamous is saying Mobo is going to be special when his shot develops along with Shed. Mitchell needs to go. Dude doesn't have natural point guard skills or instincts. Okay, so you want to get rid of Mitchell, who's actually a guaranteed contract. That's not going to happen. Well, we got to understand what Mitchell's for, Infamous. First of all, he's not the starting point guard. He's being the starting point guard because IQ is out. Mitchell, in some ways, is a specialty player that's going to come off the bench for us that's a defensive stopper. In some ways, it's not about his scoring. It's not about him hitting threes, although he can hit threes. He can hit them consistently. He hasn't done it exactly yet. But the thing about him is being a defensive stopper and just being a general annoyance. And well, in some ways, Davion Mitchell did not do the things he was supposed to do correctly because Peyton Pritchard went off. So in some ways, that's the problem. We needed Pritchard to have the off day. And in some ways, off day didn't apply his moniker to Peyton Pritchard last night. And that was a problem. But there's no reason for it. Like, dude needs to go. He's not going anywhere, Infamous. He's not somebody who's going to get cut from our team. He's on a contract. We traded for him. He's valuable. And we're going to get a lot of good things out of Davion Mitchell by the end of the season. Just trust me. But he shouldn't be starting. He's not a starting caliber point guard. That's for sure. But he is when IQ's out. That's part of it right now. Yeah, Mobo, I don't know if we're depending on Mobo to get his shot together. I think that in some ways I'm dependent on Mobo to continue to hustle, bust his ass, and do all the dirty hard work like Chris Boucher would. If anybody on this team is somebody that he needs to mimic, it's Boucher. If the more that Jonathan Mobo learns secrets from Chris Boucher, the better NBA player he'll become. And take his lead. Don't necessarily take the lead of Scott, because in some ways Scott is a different kind of talent and player, and he's going to be asked to do way more things on offense than Jonathan Mobo ever should be. So he needs to pay attention to Chris and play more and more like Mr. Hustle played Chris Boucher, because he showed signs of, you know what, we could have another guy like Chris on our team in Mobo very quickly. And I'm all about that. I want to see that kind of stuff. Yeah. Seymour saying happy Thanksgiving, gang. And ta-da, family. There you go. Seymour checking in from Calgary to say hello to everybody this morning. Good to see the sheriff. Andrew saying happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Also, our Raptor Freak Rookie of the Year. Andrew, good to see you in the chat also. Cowboys saying, let's go Raptors. Everybody have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. I love the positivity, guys. You know, in some ways I was like, man, this fucking stream, I hate doing this stream after games like last night. I really do sometimes. I really do hate doing the stream, but hey, it is what it is. Kenny is here. Good to see original Raptor Freak Kenny. He's been here on my journey for the whole 3 years. Good to see my guy Kenny checking in. I believe Kenny lives in the continent of Africa, from what I remember. Scotty mentally checked out early. Yeah, in some ways, I don't think he even showed up and was involved mentally in the game. In some ways, he did not have the mental preparation to come and meet the eye of the tiger. In some ways, he's like meeting the challenge of his rivals. And dude, the challenge of your rivals was absolutely not the grade A top-notch Celtics. And in some ways, you still failed. That's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. Smooth saying, still think it's a 35-47 season, man. I love that. That sounds great. If that can be what happens, I would love that, Smooth. Plus 10 more wins than last year is an improvement, and I will take it. I will take it. It's Cowboy and David and them are still saying 41-plus wins. I wish y'all I could believe that, but I can't. I can't believe that, Cowboy. I'm sorry. Yeah, Smooth saying first 10, 2, and 8. 10, 2, and 8. That's the first game. The first 10 games are going to be 2 and 8 at the end of the first 10 games of the season. That's an interesting prediction. Boom is his name. Boom. Welcome to the channel. We do Raptors talk every single morning. He's saying Scotty seemed like he didn't care. 1 rebound, minus 39 in 13 minutes. This better not be a trend going forward. Not this early. RJ, my Canadian prince, save us. I love this comment. In some ways, I'm totally with Boom on a lot of this. It's like, I don't want Scotty to be showing signs that he doesn't care now he's got the bag. I don't want to believe that you're that kind of dude, Scott. It's like once you get paid, because this is what you told me personally on Twitch this summer after you got your big extension. You went on Twitch live and you told me personally, you said, Raptor Streak, you said, listen, I know I just got paid a lot of money. I want you to know that I take this very seriously. Getting this money from the franchise of the Raptors and playing for the city of Toronto and the country of Canada, I take very, very seriously. I'm going to show you that I earned this money. That's what he said to me personally. Well, Scott, let's do this. You have lots of time to do this, but right now it's not showing right now. I don't want you to be all cushy because you got a bag, you got a kid, and your life is set up now. You've got to continue to work. You've got to remember how Siakam did it. You got to remember how Siakam learned from DeRozan and Lowry. And you have to learn that stuff and do it yourself, because Siakam ain't here no more to show you how to work and hard every single day. And you got to do it. You're the guy now. And in some ways, I'm worried about this. And yeah, Boom, it could very well be, RJ is going to set the tone in leadership with tenacity and aggressiveness, like he's shown for Team Canada this summer in the Olympics. For the Raptors, may be more necessary. And this may be why I get behind my friend Shannon Ferguson, who says that RJ is more of a leader on this team than Scotty. Because in some ways, RJ Barrett is more ready to lead this team into winning than Scotty is right now. because Scotty doesn't understand how to win yet, and he doesn't understand how to use his amazing, incredible, top-notch powers to convert our team to wins. So yeah, boom, great first comment, and thank you for joining. For seriously, I hope I see you more often. Is critical this year. I think I get behind that statement, Smooth. I think I can. Milbester saying, Lex, did Vince went in as Hall of Fame as a Raptor or net? He went in as a Raptor, my guy. Completely as a Raptor. That's right. What team did he choose to retire in the Hall of Fame with? I was about to see the Hall of Fame ceremony with Billups, too. Why are you not listening to me, Milbester? I was saying earlier about Vince that it really touched my heart that he very much said, without a doubt, he's going in the Hall of Fame as a Raptor, not as a net. So, yeah, Milbester, just watch the highlights. You don't need me to tell you these kind of things. You can go Google it. In some ways, you're asking me dumbass questions half the time. And I'm like, Milbester, there's something called Google. Just fucking Google that shit or watch it for yourself. You can go find out who Vince Carter said he's going in as. That's right. Nako saying Mobo needs some G League. They all need G League. They all need G League. Shed needs it. Shamshay needs it. Carlson really needs it. Yeah, Walter's going to need it also. Watch. Walter's going to need it also. There's the spray paint. Kaz has got the spray paint out. 10-4. Seymour saying DiVincenzo told the whole Knicks organization to fuck off after that tribute, and the Raptors will be fine. Future is bright. There you go, Seymour. I like that. You're making me feel better now. He's like calming my fears. He's like, don't worry, Lex. The DiVincenzo told the whole Knicks team to fuck off, and we're going to be fine. It's like a calm shoulder. He's like, just pat me on the shoulder. Don't worry, Lex. It's going to be fine. Thank you, Seymour. Thank you. I needed to hear that. That's right. Johnny G saying Celtics got lucky hoisting all those threes that went in. Good to see Johnny G, another new name in the chat. Thank you for the subscription. I hope you'll join us on a regular basis this season when you can. Yeah, I think that there is some luck in some of their shots, but there is a lot of skill also. And in some ways, it's execution. In some ways, it's the way Joe Mazzulla gets them up for games, and the system with the screens on the outside really free up guys like Hauser and Pritchard. And those guys are dead eyes. In some ways, like our broadcast crew said last night during the game, Peyton Pritchard has a new level of confidence from being a very key player in their playoff run to the championship last season. So in some ways, he's got a little bit more swagger to him. In some ways, he's always been dangerous. He's always been one of those kind of guys. And it's very interesting, actually, Sherman Hamilton was calling the game because Alvin was at Hall of Fame. Sherman Hamilton and Matt Devlin talking about how, Pritchard almost left the Celtics in recent years because he was unhappy with his role on the team. Well, sometimes those kind of things really work out. You can ask us with Kyle Lowry in a trade to the Knicks that never happened. So in some ways, Peyton Pritchard, you should be glad you're a Celtic still, even though you were unhappy just in the last couple of years and you were wanting to get moved by them. Yeah, it's really weird how things turn and change this event. Johnny G, good to meet you, man. Good to meet you, man. Let's see. Andrew's saying Ramsey impressed me. Looks like a real NBA player. He's just very solid. In some ways, he's efficient. He's doing really good. If he gets the ball, he knows how to get either a scoring opportunity by shooting or getting to the line. And then on defense, he's a very dogged, strong defender. So he is very valuable. And if I'm going to pick between those four guys, Ramsey and Battle are the top two. Fernando and Rodin, whatever. They can go somewhere else, is what I'm saying. Johnny G saying, congrats to VC, first Raptors Hall of Fame player. Yeah, he's not the first Hall of Fame player, but he is the first Raptor jersey retired. And he will be the first player to declare that he's going into the Hall of Fame as a Raptor. With Chris Bosh, Tracy McGrady, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Lenny Wilkins are Raptor Hall of Famers also ahead of Vince. But Vince is the first one that declared out of them that I am a Raptor going into it. And that does mean something. It wouldn't have made sense for Tracy to say it. And Chris Bosh, you turncoat. Of course, you're a champion with the Heat. You're going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Miami Heat player. You fuck. Yeah, in some ways. But yeah, Johnny, once again, great comment. Carlos saying, who gets the last spot? I like Battle. I like battling for that last roster spot on the Raptors. Race Mode's here. Race Mode Daily. Edmund, good to see Edmund. One of my originals. Watching this channel for 3 years now. I'm done criticizing Vince. I'm leaving the past behind and looking forward to celebrating Kalo's statue. During Vince's speech, you could still see how much the pain from the booze affects him till this day. Well, that's part of the reason why he's so emotional, like he was at Dixon Court, like why he was emotional last night in his speech, is because we did hurt him. I mean, it's just a tough, weird thing. You get so built up, and there's such a love fest, and the Vince-sanity of Raptors, Vince Carter, and then the really ugliness of how he left. And he really did do us wrong. In some ways, he can act like he didn't do anything wrong, but he did do things wrong. You don't get that much animosity from a fan base for doing things right. Seriously. So he did things, some really, really wrong things. And in some ways, he didn't have enough respect or dignity for the Canadian people thinking that we mattered, that he could thought, yeah, I could just shit all over them and fuck them over like I did in 2004, 2005. And it won't matter. Well, it did matter, Vince. And you're finding out over the long term of time that legacy does matter. You keep saying this word legacy around this whole thing about your jersey retirement. And in some ways, it's like, dude, the legacy is, you have a legacy that has partly negative connotations. And in some ways, you have to have the whole part of your legacy in your face. And in some ways, yeah, he is a very sensitive guy. And it did hurt him a lot when we booed him when he came back. He'll act like he's tough, and it didn't, but no, he cared about other people cared about him. And that's why I'm trying to tell Raptors Nation that in some ways we were his ops for so long that naturally to him, he doesn't like Raptors fans to a degree, because we booed the hell out of him for like a decade and a half after he left us. So it's like, get the action. In some ways, it's like the healing in some ways is for him is to see, oh man, maybe the Toronto fans will actually love me now again instead. But don't get it twisted. In the early part, when we booed the hell out of him, he relished it and he fed off it and he killed us coming at us as a New Jersey Net. So, yeah, there's a lot to this. It's not so simple. And in some ways, yeah, he's sensitive to the boos from the Raptors. And now he's trying to turn this into love. Wolves are still booing. And you know what, Vince? It may very well be on November the 2nd. There is still a percentage of the crowd at Scotiabank Arena that will boo you. And you will have to hear all the mixed reactions of how the people feel about you, because they're all fair and valid. They're all fair and valid. Now, like I said, for me personally, if you just came out and said, you know what, I was totally wrong. No professional athlete should ever quit on their team and do what I did. It sets a whole total bad precedent. It really ruined my legacy in some ways, because it showed the character of me and what I'm willing to do to stoop to what I want. In some ways, that's not a good look any which way for you. You can say it's the front office. You can say it's a coach, but it's your own action that made you half-ass things in your time when you were coached by Tim Mitchell on the Raptors. It was you that did that. And that is part of your legacy that will never go away still, even if people were on to try and conveniently forget about it. It's just part of it. It's just part of it. Nako saying Davion is probably our second best point guard. I like both Ramsey and Shed more than Carton. On average, I'd probably play Shed over Ramsey. Yeah, Nako, I'm not with you on some of this stuff. You have interesting, strong opinions. In some ways, look, I would say Davion is the most experienced after IQ as our point guards, and that by default makes him the backup point guard, but it doesn't mean he'll be it by the end of the year. He has a lot of strong competition in those other three guys. If Ramsey hangs around and he does make the team, he will be involved and possibly being the backup point guard at some point. DJ Carton is fully capable of being the backup point guard for the Raptors also, and we've seen really good things from Shed already too. So this battle is very even to me in some ways. And I would say Emmanuel Quickley is by far the best point guard for the Raptors, but the second best Raptor point guard is very ambiguous. And I'm not just going to give it to Mitchell, because in some ways there's some offensive potential for some of the other guys like Carton and Ramsey that could make them better backup point guards than Mitchell by the end of the year. So, yeah, this is one of the most interesting positional battles in the Raptors roster this season is point guard. This is such a refreshing difference than just fucking Malachi Flynn and sorry ass shit. Seriously. This is such a refreshing difference. And it was like, yeah, our backup point guard is Malachi. Just get used to it. There's no other options. It's fucking bullshit. This is so much better. So much better. Andrew saying at least we closed a 30-point gap. The Sixers lost by 50. Yeah, but the optics of that were way different. The Sixers didn't play their starters at all, and the Celtics did. And that's why they dropped 50 on the Sixers on Saturday night, is because it was a B or C team for the Sixers. It was the C team for the Sixers. They played like their third team against the first team of the Celtics and lost by 50. So Blackhawks saying, actually, when you rewatch the game got more competitive from the last 5 minutes of the second, but the half was needed for Darko to refocus the team. Yeah, they just came out flat. The leadership of the team did not show up and overpower the leadership of the Celtics leadership. And that's where the battle is lost right at the beginning. Like we can say in Montreal, RJ and Grady came out and won that game for the Raptors in the first quarter of the game. And in fact, RJ only had to play 14 minutes for it to stick and take two and beat the Wizards in that whole game. Well, in some ways, it's the same action, except this time it's Peyton Pritchard and Lonnie Walker the fourth that are destroying the Raptors and setting up the Celtics for a big time win for the whole entire game in the first quarter. That's the same action, except with us in the first game was RJ and Grady doing it, and in this one it was Peyton and Lonnie. Yeah. Oh man. Real. Oh gosh. Cowboys saying alley oop to Andrew. Let's go Raptors. I'll give Andrew an alley oop for sure. Andrew's been awesome. 153. Andrew, you got a 3-pointer today. Yeah. There you go. There you go. All right. Let's see. Andrew's got Shamshay on blast. Cool Cat saying no. That Boom by song is forever removed. Jamaicans trying to remove that stigma in their culture. I don't know the story about that song exactly. So he did not sing the song. Okay, good stuff. Sorry, Cowboy. They didn't play that song. Andrew's saying, when I went to the Hall of Fame in August, they already had the 2024 inductees in there. So Vince's plaque was already in there, so you could see it already. That's pretty cool, Andrew. That's interesting. Well, they've got the formalities out of it. He's got his orange jacket, just like his cousin Tracy. And yeah, that's a big deal. That trophy they gave Vince was really nice, too. A really, really nice Hall of Fame trophy they gave him. Really, really cool. Johnny G saying Nick's going to regret the trade with Cat and DiVincenzo. Yeah, they might do that. I mean, DiVincenzo could be a Nick killer in the years to come because it does seem like he's become a villain now towards them. And Milbester may have a very bad nightmare. DiVincenzo bombing threes and killing the Knicks in the future. DiVincenzo, why you do this, Dante? Oh, no, it's just like a fucking De Niro Scorsese movie. DiVincenzo's like the mobster who got exiled from the family, and now he's like a rogue person in another family. He's coming back to wreak havoc in New York City still. It's like a Scorsese. It is. It really is. Like you cross the family and he's out, and now he's pissed. Oh my gosh, you're out, bro. You're out. Andrew's saying, I wish Shamshay had got more than 2 minutes. Yeah, I would have liked to see him more, but we were to make a valid comeback. I was actually wondering if Scotty would reinsert himself. Like Darko's seeing like them kind of get close, and Scotty's like with like 5 or 6 minutes to go in the game. He's like, we're within 10. Maybe Scotty should go back out there and just fucking try and close it. Now, if he fails and he doesn't do it, then that looks really bad. But in some ways, I was like almost wishing it. I was like, man, put Scott back in the fourth and let's see if he can actually take over and take us home to a win. Because in some ways, that could have been a very cool action. But what are the risks of that? Whether it's him like looking bad and being a failure at doing it, or even just risking him in a late game situation for any kind of injury or any kind of stupid shit when he had been cold and not playing for a lot of the second half. Yeah, I don't know. In some ways, I was really hoping he would reinsert Scotty Barnes in the fourth quarter when we got it closer to see if we could actually make the rest of it with him carrying us. But that we didn't get that opportunity. That didn't happen. In some ways, that it didn't matter. In some ways, that also signifies that once again, just like the game on Friday, Darko was not trying to win. Darko was not trying to win. If you're trying to win, you put your absolute best players out there at the end and try and close and seal the deal. Same thing in the fourth quarter against the Wizards on Friday. Same thing. He wasn't trying to win these games in some ways. That's right. Seymour saying he needs more PT for sure. Shamshay. Yeah. Andrew saying, I want to see him get run with actual solid players rather than in garbage minutes. Yeah, I don't know. Little by little with Shamshay, guys. We're going to get him little by little. And the best stuff you'll see from Shamshay will be on the 905 this year. There may be some double-double games down there. There may be games where he gets like 10 blocks almost. So be ready for that on Mississauga's 905. That's going to be a hot ticket to watch, is Urish Shamshay playing for the Mississauga team. That's going to be a lot of fun, actually, guys. Let's see. Seymour saying great energy in the first preseason game, but all their energy seems lost now. Some ways we could say that Montreal crowd buoyed the Raptor spirits and helped them. In some ways, home crowd advantage does matter. You go from an amazing, very zealous crowd in Montreal in the first preseason game to an empty arena in Washington with nobody there, hardly any energy in there, to a very happy Boston crowd that's championship feeling and vibes, just welcoming back their team. And they're feeling good because their backup team is kicking our ass. Yeah. So there's a lot of different energies in the preseason game so far. Well, let's see what our energy is like at our arena tomorrow night. And let's see if our Scotiabank Arena crowd can help the Raptors play the Celtics better, even if they have Jalen and Jason show up. It could very well be that Joe Mazzulla's like, man, we kicked their ass with our bench. We don't need to play them again. And we don't see these guys come and play in Toronto tomorrow night. So we'll see. It could be that they're held out once again for this game. I mean, Joel's been shut down for the Sixers preseason already. RJ's shut down. This could happen. It's like the Celtics are like, yeah, we've seen enough of our guys in Abu Dhabi and against the Raptors already. Yeah, they're shut down, and we're not going to see Tatum and Brown tomorrow either. We'll have to see, though. It could very well be they are playing, though. So I'll kind of get a read for it, and we'll talk about it in the morning tomorrow. Yeah, we'll have to see. Seymour said, I will lead the march. Bye-bye, Bruno. He must go. Yeah, a lot of us are not big on him. And if the Raptors are trying to get a litmus test or any kind of feedback from the fans about who they should cut, well, Raptors Freak Channel is always a good place to check in, Masai. And we're not real big on Bruno. And in some ways, Jamison Battle is looking better and better, is what I'm saying. Yeah, Andrew's saying, yeah, I think Bruno is the weakest link. Yeah, in some ways, it's like, look, you're a big man. You're big, but you're not getting rebounds. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously, how are you letting that crazy ass scrub Celtics backup team out rebound you, my guy? Seriously, you're the bigger, stronger guy other than Jakob on the court. There was nobody else on that court that was bigger than you other than Jakob, and he's on our team. So Wayne's saying, I watched the game and it was instructive and I was never discouraged. That's great. I love that, Wayne. Our notables worked hard. What I know is Shed needs shooting development. Yeah. Fernando is a goner. Scotty hasn't played in 7 months. Okay, so Wayne's being a voice of reason in this. Usually Wayne's a very tough critic, and in some ways he's giving them allowances right here. I like that, Wayne's trainer. In some ways, I'm going to give you a dunk for being a voice of reason and kind of a positive voice on a day where, in some ways, I'm going off on Scott. And as he's saying, lay off of him, he's still working his way back into being back into playing. So, yeah, Wayne, you're going to get a three-pointer. 118 is your dunk total for the season right now. But, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff right there. Mo's saying, W stream, despite the loss, keep at it always, Lex. Go Raptors for life. Good times are here. Raptor Freak Crew strong. Thanks for the cutoff, Mo. And I guess I should do some of the stuff I'm supposed to do on the channel when we do this. So let's do the Instagram stories first. We got Jamal McGlure celebrating Vince Carter in his orange Hall of Fame jacket. Congratulations, my man, from the Big Cat. Also, he's got the VC dunk. That is the logo. You know, Vince keeps talking about it means so much to him that the Raptors made a logo of him dunking as the Raptor. And in some ways he said this, and this is something that in some ways I'm like, man, fuck, we should have just done this. Because he said, you know, if they had just made the logo for me this year and they weren't retiring my jersey, that would have been enough for me. And in some ways I'm like, fuck, why are we retiring his jersey then? We could have just did the logo and Vince would have been happy. Like, why do we have to do the retirement of the 15 also? Because in some ways I was like, let's do something nice for Vince this year. And in some ways, Vince is saying that if we'd just done the logo for him this year, that would have been enough for him. And I'm like, fuck, I was willing to give you a statue. I did not want to retire your jersey. And the Raptors are doing the one thing I didn't want them to do for you. I say, put a statue of Vince outside the arena. Talk about the Air Canada effect and how it affected Canada and just made basketball so much more popular and the NBA bigger in Canada. That belongs outside, but your jersey being retired by the team, that's the wrong action because in some ways your career as a Raptor is tainted and it is not really a jersey retirement kind of career. In some ways, I could say that honestly, seriously. So in some ways that annoys me that we're retiring his jersey when we could have just gave him the logo. Mobo getting a lot of his highlights put on blast from the game last night in his Instagram because he did have some nice moments in the second half last night. So it's cool. A lot of different people celebrating Jonathan Mobo playing against the Celtics last night with some good stuff, getting the loose balls, second effort, putbacks, really, really good stuff, Jonathan. Your energy was commendable. And in some ways we needed it in the first half way more. Grady Dick showing him putting up shots in the pre-shoot around before the game. Jamal Shed getting some of his highlights put on blast by some of his friends. My dog playing against the Celtics. That's right. Let's see. Open Gym, a director of photography, taking a picture of Vince on the stage with his Hall of Fame thing. Paul Jones was out golfing with his friend yesterday. Lots of pictures of Paul Jones on the links, golfing with his Raptors golf bag. Morris Peterson celebrating Vince Carter going into the Hall of Fame last night with a nice picture of him and some of the Raptors and other players on the court. Very cool. Let's see who else we got. Manuel Quickly celebrating the Ravens winning yesterday against the Washington Commanders, 30-23. And he's talking trash to Josh Hart in this too. He's saying, tell the Twins I also said hello. So I'm guessing Josh Hart is a Washington Commanders fan, and the Ravens beating them means IQ can talk some trash to his former Knicks teammate, which is kind of funny. Raptors official putting DJ Carton on blast there and different things, people shooting around before the game. getting ready. And yeah, just an ugly game in the beginning. Bad stuff. Matt Devlin, half court shot. The legend grows. Jack Devlin hitting the half court shot and celebrating Vince Carter. DJ Carton reposting his workout picture that the Raptors posted, and so is Davion Mitchell. They're just running the mill stuff. Some of the stuff from the game last night with the Raptors on their Instagram right now. Trevor J saying they say Al Horford will play on Tuesday against the Raptors and the rest of the stars. Okay, well, we'll see. They show up. That'll be a tougher test. Maybe Scott will come correct. And maybe, you know what? This is a redemption thing, Scott. You look bad against their bench. Well, come out and play badass against their absolute best team. And maybe you save some face from how bad you looked last night. Because in some ways, look, you look really bad last night. But if you play against Tatum and Brown and you actually can play really well against them and at a high level like we expect from you, that could go a long way. That could go a long way. So think about that, Scott. There's always the next day, and there is redemption down the road. So you need to be redeemed, my guy. Andrew's saying crazy how talented this league is. Lonnie Walker struggled to get a contract. Yeah. In some ways, no other team in the league is going to get an Exhibit 10 on Lonnie Walker other than the Celtics because they're the champions. And Lonnie's like, yeah, I want to be on a team that's winning. And I don't even guaranteed. It could very well be. He could have gone somewhere else and got signed and gone somewhere and be having an established place on a roster right now. Like any of these teams, he could probably go be a starter for the Charlotte Hornets right now. Meanwhile, he's just scraping to make the Celtics team right now. So this is like the rich get richer. And in some ways, it's like, yeah, Lonnie Walker should be playing this league from what I saw last night. If he's cut by the Celtics, I'm be like, holy crap. Come play for the Raptors. We need you. Andrew, I want IQ back for at least one preseason game. Well, that's what they said is going to happen. Darko said that he expects IQ to play one preseason game. So it may be tomorrow. It could very well be Friday. It's probably more likely it's Brooklyn that he'll show up and he'll play one preseason game on Friday against the Nets in Brooklyn. So I'm going to guess that. Yeah, Infamous saying, let me explain. Dante didn't get along with Brunson and wanted to be traded. He didn't like playing with him or behind him. He asked to be traded. Okay. That's something I didn't know. I thought that all those guys just were so buddy-buddy because of their alma mater that there wasn't any conflict behind the scenes between and Brunson. In some ways, I thought they had a podcast and they all talk about it and they're all in the open. But this is actually a real conflict that was happening on this team. I mean, he's ridiculous if he thinks he's going to start over Brunson. I mean, what is this? In some ways, the Knicks made the right decision trading DiVincenzo then, if there was already some sort of underlying problems. Trevor's saying, second time we didn't hear from the players after the game, no press. Well, Trevor, I think it's because much like our broadcast crew didn't even travel down there. You know, Matt Devlin and Sherman Hamilton doing it from Toronto remotely. They didn't send any press down there either. It's not like Savannah Hamilton was down there to interview them after the games. So it's like, what are you going to do in that case? You know, she's not there. And I'll bet maybe even Doug Smith and Michael Grange and Josh Lundberg, those guys didn't even bother going on this trip with the Raptors either. So there's nobody there after the game to interview them. And that's just the case of this preseason. This is not going to be the case when the season starts. We'll have interviews after the game tomorrow night. Watch, because we'll be at home and everybody will be at the game. But Brooklyn, I don't know if they're traveling for the Brooklyn game either. So there may be no interviews after the game for that one either. And some ways I don't want to hear them after a game like last night, honestly. I don't want to hear them after a game like the game in Washington either. Yeah, Wayne saying, Davion Mitchell, I'm unsure about. He seems suitable coming off the bench. Celtics are about threes, making threes, and I favor Ramsey due to his ability to make shots, aggressive to the rim. Yeah, that's pretty good. I agree with this. Now, let's not get it twisted. Davion Mitchell is a backup point guard. He's not our starter, but he's had to start because IQ's been out. So he'll be coming off the bench for sure. And Ramsey's great. I want to see more from Ramsey. But in some ways, he hasn't done totally enough in this preseason to beat Battle, I think. To beat Battle to make the team. Calma Crazy saying no swearing. Thanksgiving, y'all. All right, Calma Crazy. Thank you. I'm trying. But after a game like last night, it's hard for me not to cuss a little bit. Just a little bit. Andrew saying Davion really struggles to set up the offense. I prefer Shed over him. Well, he's not really a typical point guard, like playmaker. And in some ways, he's a good look with people like Scott out there with him. In some ways, he plays really well off of Jakob or Kelly Olynyk. And if somebody, sometimes it doesn't need to be the point guard to do all kinds of other stuff and be that kind of guy. So in some ways, it's not a bad thing that Davion Mitchell is not known as an assist point guard. In some ways, he's known for a defensive point guard and for also making open threes from time to time also. So that's kind of what his role is. Yeah. Wayne saying this is an adult channel. This is very true. I mark a box that this is not for kids. I'm not trying to get as many subscriptions in the world that I have all these little kids or anybody just following me. In some ways, I don't give a shit about how many people that follow me. I'm just doing my people enjoy listening to me talk about Raptors, well, come on in. Let's keep talking. But yeah, I'm not going to kowtow for children. That's not what I'm doing here. Now, there may be some children watching me, and don't use the bad words I use, and don't follow some of the things that I say, seriously, because I am pretty crazy in some ways. But yeah, this is an adult channel, and this is exactly right when he said that. And just saying, Scotty with the look away dunk to cut the lead to 28. I know it's such a bad look. It just looks cheesy as fuck, Scott. You got to know the place and the time and the place to do this shit. And being down, like blown out in a rout, is not the time to be gloating and looking back on dunks. It's just not a good look. Yes. Carlos saying, yeah, not liking what I see from Scotty so far. It's really been a bad start the preseason for him so far. He came out gangbusters in the Washington game, had a perfect first minute, the first minute of him being back, but then he shat the bed for the rest of that half. And then in the second half, he's come out and shown real good promise at the beginning of the third quarter. So in some ways, what's telling me is, all right, Scott, you're coming out not prepared for the first half of the game usually, and then you getting reamed out at halftime, and you're coming back motivated after halftime, and you're playing better in the first part of the third quarter. Some ways, whatever you're doing in the third quarter, you need to fucking do that from the beginning of the game and throughout the whole four quarters. How about that? How about that? Wayne saying Battle makes his shots, but he hasn't seen his hustle. I haven't seen his hustle defensively, but he's a plus for me in neutralizing other teams' three-point shooting. Fuck the super fan. Yeah, Wayne doesn't like Nat Bhatia. He doesn't like Nat Bhatia. You know what? In some ways, Jamison has not gotten a chance to show all of his skills. He did show a little bit more last night with the rebounding and tenacity being around the basket. He's undersized, and he was battling against bigger Celtics, but he was still getting a hand on the ball and keeping the ball alive and allowing for a second chance shot. So I like that. In some ways, he was undersized and battling for rebounds late in the game, right at the very end. But yeah, we haven't seen enough about Jamison Battle in other ways that he could possibly help us. And in some ways, he might be a defensive liability, and that may hurt his chances of making the final roster spot. Fiercely saying, how many years will it take for us to get back the respect, Lex? All odds against us since the championship. Well, to get our respect, we have to respect ourselves and play with a certain kind of respect that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry carried with themselves. And in some ways, that comes from our leaders. We've had such a great run during the reign of Masai Ujiri as our leader of our franchise that we've had guys at the top that really took this seriously. Kyle Lowry and DeMar took it very seriously about what it meant to be a Raptor, and they set the tone as the leaders of our team. And when they left, both of them, it passed down to guys like Fred and Pascal, who carried the baton. I'm a little worried that kind of commitment to excellence and respect for ourselves with our culture is not taken in this last change. That when Fred left, I've been very worried about this. Last year, there was a little bit of weird signs, but Siakam was still around. Well, now it's you, Scott, and that's your job. That is your job to carry the legacy of DeRozan and Lowry and Siakam and Van Vliet to you at this point. And in some ways, it starts and ends with people like Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley setting the certain tone of expectation for how we carry ourselves and how we demand respect on how we play. The thing about Lowry and DeRozan's era during the 2010s was no matter how down we were, no matter what was going on with our team, whether we're being disrespected, they still fought and clawed, just like in that game where Kyle Lowry led that team back from one of the biggest deficits ever in Raptors history against Dallas. That's the kind of moxie and kind of attitude that we need to find again in our young leaders in this new rebuilding phase. And if we don't have it, well, we're going to regress. And we could end up being like Charlotte or Washington for a while. I don't want that, Scott. In some ways, you are very crucial to all this. And it is as serious as you take it, is as serious as we are, and whether we have respect or not. And we have to self-respect ourselves by playing a certain type of way and effort to get that. It starts with the respect for ourselves first. And down the road, when we get the accolades, we win enough, then the respect around the league will come. But we have to respect ourselves first and say we work a certain way to get that. That's right. That's right. Infamous is saying the Nat Bhatia slander is not needed. Look into his charity work. He does behind the scenes. Dude pays for hospitals for sick kids to attend games, among other things. Listen, I'm only saying one negative thing about Nat. For the most part, I'm very positive about him. But his turn the other cheek kind of stuff with Vince and Nick pisses me off, honestly. And it also pisses me off the DeMar DeRozan situation that happened and was allowed by him. So in some ways, we could blame Nat Bhatia partly for the reason why Nick Nurse got fired and we don't have him as our coach anymore. We could blame our exit from the playoffs partly on Nat Bhatia being so nice and letting DeMar DeRozan sit under the bench under the hoop in that play-in game. In some ways, yeah, blame the players for not making the free throws. But in some ways, it's like, look, you're too nice. You're going to let somebody come in your house and stab you in the face? Because that's kind of what the Nat Boccia is doing in some ways. I agree. His humanitarian work and the things he's done for the community, but don't get it twisted. He's also very much a self-promoter and putting himself in the forefront and making himself a legend. In some ways, that is part of what the whole action is also. But I do commend him for his philanthropy. And his turn the other cheek stuff, I wish I could be more like him. But I'm more Lex Talionis, eye for an eye kind of guy. And in some ways, if somebody stabs me, I want to stab them back. Meanwhile, Nat Boccia, he gets stabbed in his own kitchen by DeAr DeRozan. Well, he's just bleeding on the floor and saying, thank you. You're a beautiful person. I love you. Nah, that's not like me. And that's not like Sergeant Wayne Strainer either, is what I'll say right there. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that. Andrew's saying we'll get respect when we're eventually a top 6 seed again. Yeah, maybe. They probably won't even then. They barely respected us when we won the championship. In some ways, we're not trying to do this to get respect from the rest of the league. We're doing this to get respect for ourselves and doing this for getting us better. That's what matters right there. So he's saying at Fiercey, Scotty has to turn into a superstar for us to get respect. He is a superstar. It's just he's got to play like a superstar. He can't play like an average Joe kind of player like he did last night. That's for sure. So he's saying Scotty needs to understand he's the man now. The front office traded a man who never wanted to leave for him. He needs to really understand this. I hope he can. Yeah. In some ways, we put all the eggs in the basket with you, Scott. We did what Pensare wanted us to do so bad. And well, is it just magically just the amazing, most important thing, Robert? No, it isn't. In some ways, I fucking understood we needed vets around there to teach him and make him grow in the right way. And he had him for a while with Fred and Pascal, but he doesn't anymore. Safety net's gone. It's your show now, Scott. And in some ways, exactly what Smooth's saying. He needs to understand he's the man now and that you set this up for this, Scott. You wanted this? Well, you got it now. And it can either be your dream or your nightmare. And I'm telling you right now, if you're going to play like you've done in the last 2 games, it's going to be a fucking nightmare for all of us. Seriously. Wayne saying DJ Carton is the first point guard up. Hang on. It jumped. Make sure no more comments, guys, because I am over almost 3 hours. I do know hours. DJ Carton is the first point guard off the bench. Shed probably next. The power forward position seems deficient off the bench. Any comments on Rapid Freaks channel is relative to the court? Yeah, to on the court. Yeah, I think I can kind of see this. I think DJ Carton, in some ways, maybe the most reliable backup point guard in certain ways from both ends of the court. Maybe Davion is the best defensive backup point guard. And DJ Carton's the most all-around best backup point guard. Maybe Ramsey also. Who knows? But yeah, I can get behind that. The power forward position's weird. Scotty kind of mans it, but behind him, it's like Boucher and Mobo. So it's a kind of a hustle play position for us this year. And very much we need rebounders at that spot. So these guys need to be very much crashing the boards a lot. And Scotty, you having less rebounds than Sam Hauser last night is a fucking problem. Just like Bruno Fernando. I'm going to say that right now. Andrew said, I think Mobo can give you at least 10 minutes of backup power forward minutes. I think so too. In some ways, he'll be like Shamshay. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. And, in some ways, he is making very good aptitude kind of decisions in certain ways. So I'm very intrigued by Jonathan. I think that there are going to be more usefulness out of him than we expected this year. I think there really will be. So he's saying by the end of the season, we will all know Scotty has what it takes to be that guy. Well, this is the thing, Scott. You had an all-star season last year. I want you to have an all-NBA season this year. And if you don't play better and like dominate on the court and say, I want to be the best player on this court every single fucking night I step onto it, whether I'm playing against Joker, whether I'm playing against SGA, whether I'm playing against the regular Celtics that could have been there last night. I'm telling you, Scott, that's what you have to do is you have to meet the person that you're meeting up against. And if you're going to meet up against Peyton Pritchard and you're going to do what you did last night, we're in trouble. We're in trouble because you should be coming into every single NBA game you play this year as saying, I want to be the most dominant, best, undeniably best player on the court tonight. Because that's what Kobe and Michael did every single time they took the court. And they knew it. And they had people gunning for them. But they were like, I'm cutthroat. I'm not letting anybody be better than me on the court. I am the best player on this court tonight. Scotty, until you get to that mindset and you act like it and you make it happen, you're not like Kobe and Michael until you do that. In some ways, LeBron is not a good role model for this because he does not do this the right way. He does not have this kind of mentality the same way as those guys do. So you've got to be more like Kobe. You got to be more like DeMar. You've got to be more like Michael. And don't be lackadaisical like Kevin or LeBron or any of the more modern superstars. Like the way they go about being superstars, they do it come too easy and they kind of coast to it and they just let their talents kind of get them there. Don't be that fucking kind of guy. Be very cutthroat like Kobe and come at them and take it to their throat. Seriously. Seriously. Because that's the only way you'll do it and you'll get that mentality. You got to be that way. You have to have killer instinct. And if you don't have killer instinct, we're fucked. We're absolutely fucked, Scott. If you're just going to be casual and just be like, I'm just going through my career. No, you need to fucking want to kill people when you take the court. You need to want to fucking kill people. And if you come out there and half-ass like you did the first 2 preseason games, we're fucked. We're absolutely fucked this year. Seriously. And just saying he'll look better next to Kelly. Who will? Scott? I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Smooth saying, I really wish Barnes had RJ's mentality and leadership qualities. Like in some ways, I agree with this. I think this is a part of the problem. If we could take RJ's Mamba mentality, because he has it, and we could put more of that in Scott, that would help. I think it would. All right, Trevor's telling me to do the classic card, and he's exactly right. So I'll make sure I get this done right now. We don't want to forget about the classic card, of course. All right, it's not very classic. I just pulled the first one I got out of here. Who is that? I can't even read the name. Oh, okay. That's who that is. This is a weird card. First person to write in the full name will get trivia points for the Raptor Freak trivia score, and the winner will get their name put on this trophy in the corner. That giant trophy has nameplates on it of all of our Raptor Freak trivia champions. So if you want to get there, you got to get these. Here is the card of the day today. It is a Milbester's Knicks card. Who is that, though? This is a weird one. This guy's been in a couple different places the last couple years. So if you know who it is, you'd be shocked. All right, Milbester, are you still here? Can you tell who that Nick is? Because if you get a Knicks card, Milbester, you know, that shows that you know your Knicks. But I don't know if you know this Nick. This Nick has been in a lot of different places in the last couple years. And in some ways, I've seen him in G League mostly in the last year or so. All right, that's not how you spell his name, Seymour, but it's very close. That is not how you spell his name. Derrick Rose is not right, Fiercey. No, but Seymour's basically got it right, but he has not spelled his name correctly in any kind of way. The last name is correctly. I'll give you the last name, but this first name is not Alfred. This name's not Alfred. Alfred E. Newman. It's I don't know. I'm gonna give it. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Smooth because he did get it right. It's Elfrid, like Elfrid Payton, Elfrid Payton. It's not Alfred exactly. I'm sorry. You know what? In some ways, I'm gonna give Smooth and Seymour points on this one. Elfrid Payton is the son of a Hall of Famer, Elfrid Sr. Interesting, but not in the sport. Yeah, Elfrid Sr. played Canadian football, guys. He's a CFL legend in the Hall of Fame of CFL. And so, yeah, interesting stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to give 50 to both you guys for that one. Yeah, Elfrid Payton, the not so classic card of the day. And I'll give 50 points to Smooth and 50 points to Seymour. Smooth kind of seagulled that one from you in some ways. Let's see if David is here. Maybe David's here and he's writing it in. No, he's not. All right, let's put Elfrid Payton Jr. And we're going to give it this Seymour and Smooth. And David will come in and fix this later. 50 each. 50 each for that one. All right, thanks for doing the classic card of the day, guys. Yeah, spelling does matter. It does matter. Let's see. Smooth saying, yeah, Bruno is likely gone. Shoot, I overrated him. Yeah, I did too. I thought he would be really, really substantially good rebounder and presence defensively down low, but that has not been the case. That has not been the case. Fiercey saying, not a fan of Randall, but I low-key felt bad when seeing a snippet of his recognition video. Crowd was cold. It was honestly uncomfortable to watch for a former face of their team. You know, Randall's a weird guy. In some ways, he's had a very interesting career. He's been thankless and selfish in some ways. And in some ways, I have a lot of respect for him. His career has been very up and down and weird, and he's been discarded in different places. And, well, he's just been discarded by the Knicks, but he kind of knew it was going to happen. Julius is a smart guy, and I think he's going to flourish on the Timberwolves. And whatever awkwardness there was in his tribute video yesterday, well, that's just Knicks kind of bullshit is what I'm going to say on that. Yeah. Fiercely saying players must have agents or PR teams. Had DeMar sensed he wouldn't be welcomed here, he wouldn't have come for his book release. I don't know if that's true. I think that it's weird because DeMar, in some ways, I don't think he has as many people working with him on PR. I'm sure he does because of the book, but I think in some ways he's just very real and honestly himself. And I think that in some ways, like he said in recent interviews, he's never felt the hate from the Raptors fans. In fact, when we traded him, we came to him with love immediately. There were a lot of fans like me that wrote him Facebook messages in different places on social media that said, DeMar, we would never have traded you. We would have never done you like this. In fact, I'm mad at our front office right now. I'm mad at Masai for trading you for Kawhi right now. I would have never done this to you. And I don't want you to ever think that the Raptors fans rejected you or pushed you away like this when we traded you like this. So he had it very much reassured from fans like me on social media immediately after the trade happened. Like, I denounced Masai. I said, I fucking love Masai, but right now I hate his ass because he traded you to the Spurs. So he knew all along that there was real love from Raptors fans still, even after the trade. So he was never in question with us. In fact, it was very apparent when he came back the first time as a Spur how much we still love him. And it meant so much to him. In fact, he said that that's one of the best moments in his career when he made his first return back to Toronto as a Spur and he heard the ovation. And of course, he wanted to beat our ass. He wanted to kick our ass. And he got that tribute. And that was one of the most powerful things that's ever happened to him. So it's a lot more different than Vince. In some ways, we can see the stories of what happens with our franchise players and how they treat us. And DeMar DeRozan's like a total, complete opposite world than Vince Carter as far as things. They're very much a completely opposite tales. And that's a thing. He always knew that we loved him. And I don't think there was any doubt he was going to come and have a book release date in Toronto. That it just made too much sense, honestly, for financial reasons, the market of Canada, and also just to share the love where he originated and he comes from. A lot of his book is centered around Raptors era and talking about his Raptors life. So, of course, that book being a bestseller in Canada, yeah, he needed to do all that, not just for PR, but I know in his heart, he knew he had to come back here no matter what. In fact, he said that in the tweet. He said, of course, Toronto, I'm coming back to see you guys on my book tour. Of course, I have to come back to Toronto, is what he said. Brian said, what's up, Freak Nation? Was I the only one that noticed VC taking a slight shot at Raptors fans during his speech? No, I didn't see that yet, but I want to see it. I haven't watched the whole entire thing. He took a shot at the coach carousel, a little bit like that. But I didn't see this yet, Brian, but I'll have to check it out. To the Point, y'all. Check out T.O. The Point is a YouTube channel that Brian does, and he talks a lot of Raptors and Team Canada and basketball in Canada stuff. So, Brian, good to see you this morning. Y'all give him a subscription. Kareem saying, not worried about the preseason. When the rotation tightens up, we will look a lot better. Would like to see our starters actually get some burn together. We need it. Yeah, I can get behind everything the butt dialer is saying right there. Milbester saying, also, Lex, Mets and Yankees and ALC and NLC with both leagues. Hopefully we get Subway World Series. Dodgers won game 1, but pray we get a 2000 Subway World Series. I'm not praying for any of that shit. Fuck that shit. Fuck New York, motherfucker. Milbester, you fucking New York bullshit. Why would I want a Subway Series for your dumbass city? I want the Dodgers to win the whole World Series. I want that to be proven. What I just said, Ohtani sweepstakes. They're going to spend so much goddamn money on one player, and he's going to have an amazing season, and they're going to buy a championship, and it'll just be like, fuck, this league is just about buying fucking championships, the MLB. And in some ways, I don't like baseball, first of all, Milbester. I root for the Blue Jays. I love for them to win a World Series. But in a lot of ways, that sport is fucked up because you can just buy championships. And it's like, why even root for some of these smaller teams? Because they don't have any kind of realistic chance in that league. So it's like, well, the MLB sucks, man. I don't watch baseball at all. And I could give a shit about your stupid ass Subway Series dream. That fucking bullshit. Get out of here with that. I'm going to tumble that. No. Get the fuck out of here with that. That's right. Milbester saying also, players like Dante, you have to respect because he plays the game the right way with grit and efficiency, plays hard, and he's a baller. That's what being an NBA player is all about. We love Dante. And he's crying. And he's saying, we're going to miss him. They'll try to get him back in the future. He has every reason to be pissed. Leon Rose with the L. There you go. Knicks freak. Go ahead and give Leon Rose an L. Let's see. Fiercely saying, agreed. Wayne Scotty is the X factor. He's where we go. He's the driver of the car. We go as he goes, is what I'm going to say right now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's Alfred Payton. That's right. That's who it is. 50 points to both you guys. Respect to your Thanksgiving, Seymour. And Fiercely saying, thank you, Lex, from fam. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. That's right. No days off for me. It may be a long weekend for everybody else, but Lex works 365 days a year at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, every single day. Raptors Freak streaming. Tomorrow, I'll have the refs report for tomorrow's game in Scotiabank Arena. I'll tell you who the refs are and whether they favor what they do and all that kind of stuff. I'll have the latest lineup news. I'll have some keys to the victory, and we'll talk about all the regular stuff we do on the Raptor Street channel tomorrow, once again at 9:30. You guys got me to do a little bit of Lexathon at 9:30, almost 3 hours now. Leo Routon yesterday saying, "It's not happiness that makes us grateful; it's gratefulness that makes us happy." Boom goes a dynamite. There you go, Leo. I'm grateful for a Toronto Raptors team, win or lose, because I have an NBA team that I love and I follow like a diehard, and that gratefulness for that will make me happy, regardless of any outcome in any game. So there you go. I love that so much. Yeah, I love seeing Vince shout out so many Raptors names, 19 former teammates he yelled out in his speech last night. That was fantastic. In fact, here's a stat from Kathika, a TSN, saying that Vince Carter had 261 teammates during his 22-year career, and the only person who had more teammates in their NBA career is Jeff Green. Jeff Green is the only guy who had more teammates than Vince Carter over his whole entire career. Wow, that's sensational. Once more, guys, I have a fantasy basketball league that we're playing in. If anybody wants to jump into this league right now, here's the link. You can jump in and join in one of the last spots right now. And we're going to close it up, and we're going to have the draft on Sunday. So if you guys want to play, you need to do it quickly, because we are going to have no room in there very soon. Milbester saying, on a day like Columbus Day, us Dominicans celebrate Christopher Columbus, known as a robber in Hispaniola, who killed and stole Thanos. Yeah, fuck Columbus. Fuck that shit. You want to celebrate something today, don't celebrate the sentiment of Thanksgiving for the bullshit that they taught us when we were little kids with pilgrims and Indians and all that bullshit. No. Understand the genocide of the Native American people of this continent by the white man exploring from Europe and the bullshit that happened. In some ways, we want to talk about Thanksgiving and be thankful for what we're thankful for. Yes, I'm thankful for an NBA team in Toronto named the Raptors. I'm thankful for a WNBA team coming to Toronto very soon. But I'm not thankful for genocide that continues to happen around this world in places like the Gaza Strip. And I'm not thankful for genocides of the past, like the ones that happen on the lands that we inhabit right now. So yeah, let's not get it twisted. Let's keep it straight on things. Celebrate your family, celebrate love, celebrate gratitude, celebrate thankfulness. But don't celebrate genocide, and don't celebrate Christopher Columbus, a piece of shit from back in the day that they lied to us and told us to celebrate. Because he's not someone to celebrate. Trust me. If you knew slaves and different people, you would be like, this fucking person is a monster. Why the fuck did we ever name a day after somebody named Columbus? Is what I'll say there. Milbester, I'll double down with you on that, my Knicks freak friend. That's right, y'all. So thanks for watching me today. Please have a great day. Touch grass like Scotty would, and let's Raptorize our day like Nat Bhatia. And just be smart, guys. Tomorrow, you got another chance. There's another game, Scotty and Raptors. And y'all need to look way, way better. Even if the better Celtics team is playing against y'all tomorrow night, you need to look better. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me. Thanks for giving a shit about what I have to say. And I give a shit about what y'all have to say. This is a great place for a forum for any Raptor fan to get their opinions across about what is going on with the team on a day-to-day basis. And I appreciate all the new subscriptions and all the new people showing up in the chat today. I hope you had fun, and I hope you'll join me again in the future. We do something fun every single day on this channel, no matter what. So tomorrow, preview the second game against the Celtics in Toronto against the Scotiabank Arena. Let's go Raptors. And let's get a W before the end of this preseason. Yeah, if we don't win tomorrow night, let's beat the Nets on Friday night for sure. Let's go Raptors. Let's go WNBA Toronto. Let's go.